I can see why you have a problem with horizontal and vertical.
Yeah, also, it makes sense why you're a fan of outer space and evolution because by your admission, you like science fiction, and that's exactly what those two things are. Sci-fi.
Oh, we could discuss evolution if you want. I would love that.
I don't care to, really.
Where's
Oh, why'd you bring
where's
it up
SZ
then?
at?
I was just curious, Rebel. You brought it up, so I thought you might want to talk about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about you bringing up that you like science fiction. So
Yeah.
all I'm saying is that it makes sense that you like evolution and the idea of outer space, considering that those two things are in fact science fiction.
What do you think outer space is?
See, that's that's a
A space,
strange thing to say. I mean, if you look up and you can see the stars and the planets. Where are those existing if there's no space?
that would be in heaven, sir. Next question.
The moon's also in heaven too, correct?
And the sun, yes.
And those things don't exist in space, correct?
What you think is space is actually heaven, the supernatural
No,
realm.
exist in space.
Where what you think space is the supernatural realm known as heaven, sir.
So they don't exist in space?
They don't exist in this never-ending, ever-expanding near vacuum that you consider outer space.
I didn't say outer space. I asked if they exist in space. We exist in outer space. So there is no outer space. There's just space.
Are you saying do they take up space?
Yeah, do they exist in space?
Oh, and by space you don't mean a near vacuum.
Yeah, I just mean the dimension of taking up space.
Then yes.
Okay. So the moon exists in space, and stars exist in space.
Yeah, but
Uh-huh.
our two understandings and what we accept as reality probably differ greatly. You probably still accept the heliocentric model, yes?
I don't really have an opinion on whether the Earth rotates. I mean, I would guess the Earth rotates around the sun. It makes sense, but I mean, we had a geocentric model, and then it kind of got ruined. I think who was it? Was it Copernicus came up with the heliocentric model, right? But I'm not sure how he did that. I haven't looked into it very much. But for all intents and purposes, as far as I understand it, we can predict solar eclipse really well and lunar eclipse. And I don't know how we would do that with a heliocentric model. And then also, I think retrograde motion of Mars makes absolutely zero sense with a heliocentric model. Sorry, with a geocentric model, because why would if we're not moving at all and Mars is moving around us, why would it ever go backwards? That doesn't really make sense. So I think like retrograde motion, for me at least, retrograde motion would be the biggest defeater for a geocentric model.
Interesting. Okay, and with your current understanding of cosmology, has that led you to become a believer or an atheist? Agnostic. No pressure.
No, I just said I say I don't really hold like I haven't really thought about it that much. But if it were someone were like hard pressing me on it, I'd probably say yeah, I think it's heliocentric because of the retrograde motion of Mars with my current understanding of cosmology. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Has that led you to the belief in a creator or a no creator? Just as a side, I'm just
Neither
curious.
neither of those things have not an implication, an impact on my belief of a creator.
Okay, thank you.
You sure you don't want to talk about evolution, Rebel? I mean, I love talking about it.
No, I don't really care to know.
Okay. Just curious.
I mean, what is there to talk about? It's bullshit. Like,
I just don't think you know what it is. Like, if I asked you to define what evolution is, could you tell me what you think it is?
oh, herp the derp. Oh, the change in allele frequencies over time. Herp the derp.
That's
Right?
what you think it is?
That's what you think it is.
I asked what you think it is.
That's what it is, right? Did I get it right?
What? What are you talking about? No, I'm asking you what you think it is.
TwoOcna, did I get it right or not?
Get what right? Your belief on evolution?
The definition that you just asked me for, dummy.
No, I didn't ask you for a definition. I asked, what do you think evolution is?
Yeah, how is that not a definition of it?
Because I asked what your belief is.
You didn't ask me my belief.
I
My
asked,
belief
what do you think evolution is?
is bullshit. Now what?
So you don't have any like concept of what it is. You just think it's bullshit.
He's asking for a steel man. He wants a
Already-
steel man of evolution.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think it is?
I already said it. I already said it. How'd you
I
miss
heard
it?
it.
So you
Every-
think it's change in allele frequency?
I don't know why you act. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why are you acting like you
That's
were
what
deaf?
you think evolution is.
Yeah, sure.
So when you say change in allele frequency is bullshit, why do you think that?
Because change in allele frequencies is just like the nice way of saying, oh, all the incredible biodiversity of life that we have today somehow magically by like miraculously came from a single-celled organism, despite that this has never been observed to be the case, not even remotely close.
And that's why you think change in allele frequencies is bullshit because it's a nice way of saying the diversity of life came from magic.
Sure.
But that has nothing to do with alleles or their change in frequency. How'd you
Wait,
come to that
Do you
belief?
think the creation of man was miraculous? I mean, you said miraculous, what really derogatory way. Do you think the creation of man was magic or what?
Me or
Yeah,
rebel?
Great
it,
point.
yeah, it was. But here's the difference between you and I, Left Lane. I believe in magic, but I believe that it took a magician to create it, right? I believe in a miracle, but I believe in a miracle maker. The only difference between you and I is that you believe
So
without
why
a
aren't
magician.
you
Only difference.
why aren't you a deistic evolutionist? What's the issue?
Because the God that I believe in is omnipotent and he could create everything as is, fully formed, maturely developed organisms in 6 days with enough time to rest on the seventh, just as the God of the Bible did. I don't believe in this weak God that needed to use this long drawn out process of trial and error and mutation to get to how things are now. That would be a weak God. I don't worship a weak God.
What do you
I
think
agree
is
with
more
that.
weak, making a car that builds itself or putting together a car by hand?
Making everything as is in a very short amount of time, like literally speaking
Yeah,
into.
but would it be more cool if someone made a car that built itself?
No, what
That'd be super sick.
no, what's more cool will be more demonstrable of the power of God would be speaking, literally speaking things into existence as fully formed, mature, developed beings.
I don't know. Like, have you seen like what is it called? Like a nanotech? Like that shit would be cool as fuck, where it just builds itself. Like, I guess you could just get handed a suit of armor, but it's so boring. Like, wouldn't you rather have something that morphs itself, that creates itself?
Well, we do have a body that heals itself.
Exactly. That's so sick.
Do you believe these objects that form themselves created themselves also? Meaning there was no intelligent design at all in the process?
Our bodies?
No, self-assembling systems. Do you believe that self-assembling systems just popped out of existence, or was there an intelligent mind behind that idea?
I don't think either of those things.
Okay, you mentioned self-assembly, no?
Yeah.
Self-creating?
hmm
Okay. Do you think the self-creation started uh, without a creator?
I mean, so it's kind of hard to explain, but like my belief, I don't believe things are like, well, we have things. So we have like, how would you say, like a soccer game, right? But it's really hard to distinguish which parts of a soccer game are required to be the soccer game. So not to get into super boring philosophy, but in general, I consider human beings their own thing. I don't consider the lung, like the air in our lungs, to be part of us, to be part of our self-assembling machine. But that's kind of not true because the oxygen in our lungs is required, it goes through our blood. I hope none of us disagrees with this, right? We agree that we breathe air,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay. So, and we agree that's necessary for life. So, I don't really think, I don't think that people just popped out of nothing or self-assembling systems popped out of nothing, but they formed from a change in other things. So, like, I think the best example of this is actually, if we want to look at humans, is like babies. Like, no part of a baby came out of nowhere, right? But like one day you like see your friend and they're like, oh my god, like you look so different, like you know, I don't know what you would say. What makes someone look super different? They got a cut, and then you see them the next day, and they're like, oh wow, that cut's healing very nicely. Look at that, and it's like it looks like it came from nowhere, but we know that their cut didn't heal from literally nowhere. Just like we know babies don't come from nowhere, but no part of a baby comes from nowhere, and yet somehow it seems like one day it's a baby, and then it's an adult. So it's kind of weird. So I think all things form into other things, and all of these things, like the energy of these things, have always existed. But to say that like self-assembling systems came out of nowhere, I wouldn't really say I believe that. I would say they come from somewhere, but normally we don't consider the things that create a self-assembling system a part of the system until they're literally part of the system. So like we don't consider the food we eat part of our system until we grow taller, and that's literally the protein, that's literally the calcium, that's literally the oxygen and the energy from that food literally turned into us. So it's like I don't really believe either of those things, if that made sense.
Okay, yeah, thank you for your feedback. Are you open to the idea of a creator?
Um, I would normally say yeah. The only issue is that I don't see. Well, here. I'll be totally fair. I would say yes. I would be. The only thing that's stopping me is that I don't see any like reason to need to believe in one. Right. So I give this example a lot. I don't know what electrons are. Right. Do we all agree that atoms exist, or do some of us not agree that atoms exist?
I'm open to it, yeah.
Okay, so let's say atoms exist and electrons exist, right? I have no clue what an electron is, right? So I see like a little like I've seen drawings, I've seen like a little circle, I've seen computer animations, I know what like the little E with a negative is and a yellow circle. I know what all of that is, but when someone's like, "Oh yeah, electrons like circle an atom," I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like I have no idea what you're talking about. But the issue with that, I can't just reject electrons existing because we could do things like chemistry, and chemistry works. There's no way around it. People can do chemistry. I did chemistry in my high school class, right? I did really bad at high school chemistry, so don't ask me about it. Oh my god! And the worst part is I like biology, so I had to take biochem, which sucks ass. But like, there's a reason these people must be able to do this thing is because, well, what they're talking about, these electrons, they have to exist. I have a reason to believe in it. These people are telling me, hey, I use electrons to do this chemistry. And I'm like, oh, well, I might not understand what an electron is, but I have to believe in it because they can explain something I can't. I don't have any other way to explain the occurrence of chemistry. So I feel the same way for God. It's like, I have no clue what people say when they believe in a God. I don't know what an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving man that spoke the universe. I don't know what speaking the universe into existence is. But on the other half, unlike with electrons, I don't need God to explain the universe. So if there was ever something that I needed God to explain, if some religious person was like, "Hey, I can make a gold bar appear in my hand every Tuesday," and then I see them every Tuesday, like at like 4 o'clock, or whatever, and I see them every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. No matter where they go, no matter where I see them, no matter what's around them, there's a gold bar that just appears in their hand, and I could do no science to explain why that gold bar appears there. Then I would believe in God because now that person can make an explanation for an event that I can't, no matter what I do, and that's why I don't see a reason to believe in God. If that made sense.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And if you don't mind me stating, you do seem young, so you're probably under 50. Being under 50, how much knowledge of all knowledge do you think you've acquired? 10%, 190%?
Dude, we're in fractions. I think I'm smarter than the average U.S. citizen. I am a U.S. I do live in the U.S., but I think it's like fractions of all knowledge,
Okay.
like all knowledge ever to exist or all knowledge known at this moment.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want you to keep that in mind as you continue, because personally, I want you to know that God wants you to search Him out. And I don't want to drag this into the whole biblical thing because I know a lot of people get triggered here, but I want you to know that there is an effort, in my opinion, from the Satanists, because there seems to be a lot of people in powerful position that seem to be worshiping Satan. They want to get the community to no longer believe in God, because when they undermine the idea of God, they almost take away your God-given rights. So now you can't say, "Oh, I have God-given rights," because you don't believe in God. So now you have to have man-made rights, and I think this is a form of slavery. But yeah, thank you for allowing me to share that with you, and all the best too.
Yeah, I have a question and a comment on both of those things. So my comment
Sure.
would be, there's a very simple proof for God for me, which would just be, give me a phenomenon that I can't explain with science, must be supernatural. Like very simple, right? So the closest that we've gotten to would be like dark matter. So dark matter is basically I say this, but it's like it's unironically true and not true at the same time. So we know that, well, you don't believe in gravity, but let's say you did for a second. We can see we can't see gravitational fields, but we can see objects get closer to each other in space, and we don't know why they do this. So dark matter is it's called dark matter because no matter what we do, we can't see this matter. We can't see what's causing the attraction of these objects. So we just kind of put in like a fudge number. We throw in an extra one into the equation to make it balance out. But in reality, we don't know why there seems to be mass that we can't see that attracts other objects. This is like a phenomena that like I can't explain and science can't explain, but religion can't really explain it either. So why would I chalk it up to God? But if a Christian was like, or any other religion, right? I know Rebel Christian. I think it's Christian. If any other religion just came up to me and they're like, "Hey, you see that? You see the dark matter over there? I'm not only going to tell you what it pulls, I'm going to tell you how to see it, and I'm going to like give this information to you." And there's absolutely no science involved in it. I'd be like, "Damn! Well, you can explain it to the guy can't. Science can't explain it, and you said it's God. Must be God." That's all it would take to convince me of God. Um, so that's the number one. Um, and then the question is, I don't know why you can't be religious and also believe in science at the same time. I don't know like, why, like, with the God-given rights thing, I don't know why science and God repel each other on these rights. Why do they pull away from each other? Science doesn't make a claim to your rights at all, period. I don't know any scientific claim about rights, but I don't know what saying you believe in a God is and saying I have God-given rights. I don't know what rights that gives you.
Okay, hold on. So are you saying that a religious person can't be scientific? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm saying they can be.
Oh, okay. My apologies. Okay.
Yeah, you kind of made it seem like the anti-Christian people are like trying to explain things without using God, which in the general world is science, right?
Posted something for
Oh
you.
no. What I was trying to convey was that there are people in powerful positions that are Satanists. They don't worship the Creator. They've made a deal with Satan for power. So
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything to me either because I don't believe in Satan as well. So
it's okay.
that's
Yeah,
yeah.
that's okay. Yeah, a lot of people haven't really done the deep dive, so to speak.
Wait, but how could I listen to Satanists if I don't believe in Satan?
Well, okay. Have you? How many hours have you spent researching Satanism, demonic possession, and hauntings? How
No,
many
that's
hours?
not what I mean. It's like saying, "Oh my God, you're convinced by the Dr. Seuss car dealer, and I can prove you're convinced by the Dr. Seuss car dealer because you drive past this car dealership every day." And I'm like, "Well, I just drive past the car dealership to go to work. It's not because I'm entranced by the Dr. Seuss car dealership. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay,
I don't
I don't
know,
think
like,
that
how
answered
could
my
I?
question.
Yeah,
I asked how many hours have you spent researching demonic possession? Have you listened to any doctors? Like I can name one right now, Dr. Gallagher. He's a MD and
no,
a licensed psychiatrist.
I haven't spent any time.
Okay, that's okay. I encourage you to feel free to, I'll post my own research. It's a 35-minute video. No pressure. But I tried to save people time by accumulating what I believe seems to be relevant evidence. But yeah, thank you for your time.
Again, I don't know
Uh,
why I
uh,
would look into this. There's no phenomena that Satan
well,
can
you were
explain
talking about dark matter, and I
that I
posted
don't.
something for you. Professor Krupa will explain why he thinks dark matter is a myth and scientifically disproven with a certainty of 5 sigma.
Again, there's reason to doubt dark matter exists, but religion doesn't explain what it is. If religion could explain
We
it,
don't have
predict
to.
it.
It's not our claim.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that's what it would take to make me a believer. If you guys could predict something that science couldn't, in a heartbeat, I would be like, oh damn, must be God. But there's no such thing that exists.
That's not true. It talked about the openings of the deep and springs and rivers underwater. We didn't know about that, like when the Bible was written. Like we didn't have any machines to go down to the bottom of the oceans and find like
Er,
currents down there or fresh water.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, like, there's an event that occurs, right? And science can't explain why this event occurs. If a Christian came in and they were like, I could explain when this event's gonna happen, I could explain why it happens, and I can even like I can
And so
schedule it, map it,
you need a
mark it.
prophet.
Hmm?
You need like a current prophet.
Yeah, exactly. So if any of you guys gave me an evidence for a prophet that could predict, it doesn't even need to be predicting the future, but have a near accurate prediction, right? I would say 8 out of 10, right? No, that's too generous. I mean, we can predict solar eclipses to the mile to the hour. So if, like, let's say 99.9 out of 10 times, and you could give me a reason and you could predict this event, and science can't explain this event, I would become a Christian. Very simple.
Okay, thank you. Only scientific events. What about, because you mentioned a prophet? There was a prophet online. His name is Brandon Briggs. 3 months before Trump being shot, he posted a video stating that he was given a vision of Trump being shot, being hit in the ear, going down, giving his life to God, getting up, and then going on to win the election in a big way. He called it the red wave. Do you think that's the government inside job, or do you think that's a prophet?
I mean, the reason I wouldn't say it's a profit is because Trump shooting isn't a phenomenon that occurs repeatedly. So, like I said, one of the best examples I like giving is that we could predict when solar eclipses can occur to the to the square mile to the hour, exactly where they'll be, right? And this is a very accurate prediction. And we could do this for every solar eclipse, and we've done it for every solar eclipse. And it's not only just us that's done it. I believe past civilizations have done this, right? So there has to be a reason we could do this so accurately. This is a repeatable phenomenon. We could explain it, we could predict it, and we could predict it in a very, very, very tight range. The square mile, you can run a square mile, right? Like that's not a like that's just like literally 4 miles, right? That's not that large of a space, right? I mean, the average American runs a mile in 8 minutes. So like 32 minutes, let's say you slow down, you don't keep a constant, like under an hour, you can run like like the boundaries of a full square mile, the perimeter. That's a very, very tight space, right? And even on a flat Earth, the Earth is a lot of miles. So the fact we can predict a solar eclipse exactly where it'll happen for how long, that's a very accurate prediction. If religion could do this consistently for, let's say, every assassination attempt, or let's say it could do it for a really good string of crimes. So if you could predict like a really good string of crimes, like a serial killer, like who their next killer would be, if you could do that for like 3 serial killers, I would say, nah, that's too generous. I would say like let's say every day you predict a crime, then I'd be like, okay, then I would believe in God.
So you don't. Okay, what about the prophet that predicted Trump being shot, hit in the ear, going down, and then winning the election in a huge way? Is that not enough?
So, like the reason again, like I said, it's not a repeated phenomena that you could predict.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So that's why I said, like, if you could predict like a crime every single day, you could repeatedly guess a near random of. I don't think it's truly random people committing crime, but you could predict what seems to be a near random phenomena. And to a lot of people, that's what solar eclipses are. The average person cannot calculate when a solar eclipse happens, but some people can. Science can predict when that happens. A repeated phenomena that appears to be random. So, like I said, with the gold bars, the repeated phenomena of a gold bar appearing in someone's hand every Tuesday at 4 p.m. on the dot, that's a repeated phenomena that seems absolutely random but can be predicted. If a religious person could do that, then I'd be a Christian. Same standard for religion and science.
What if the Bible could predict personality traits about you? Would that help you become a Christian?
I wouldn't say personality traits are repeated phenomena. So when I mean like phenomena, it's like it's technically I think defined as an appearingly unexplainable event. But like we change that now because there are phenomena that seem that way and we can explain. So if there's so that's why you explain in like an appearingly random event. So you explain the phenomena. So that that's something that would have to occur. So I don't think personality traits are. I don't think well they're not random. I mean psychology is an entire study. It's not the most accurate study, and it's most certainly not nearly as scientific as astronomy, but it is still more accurate than religion, I think. Um, So I wouldn't take that to be the case. Here, I'll make you a really nice deal. If it could do it better than current, I don't really like psychology. If it could do better than current psychology, then sure, right? But I just have a better. I think I have a better predictive model.
Okay, thank you. And my last cue before I take a break for a bit. Have you read the Bible?
I've read parts of it, but not the whole thing. I used to be Jewish actually. So I really liked the Prince of Egypt, and I unironically thought the story was like true. Like I actually thought the Exodus happened. I thought that like Moses talked to a burning bush. I thought the 10 plagues happened for a pretty long time. So I'm not even against the Bible. I think it's a really good story. The parts I've read, we read. There's I think the stories you read every night for Hanukkah. So I'm not even against the Bible. I think it makes a really great story. I just don't think it's a great predictive model.
Okay, yeah, thank you. James Torr, he was Jewish as well, but someone took him through essentially the Ten Commandments, and he gave his life to Jesus. He prayed that Jesus would appear to him. He claims that he did. Jesus did appear, and then he went on to tell his mom, who was Jewish, and she became a Christian. Pretty epic story. And some people think he's the top scientist in America right now.
Why
Over
would
100
anyone think that
patents.
James Torr is the top scientist in America right now?
Some people think, yeah, he was nominated Scientist of the Year. The only reason why he hasn't been given
By
more
what?
due is because his stance on abiogenesis. He believes, and I believe.
Yes. Yeah. I saw his Dave Farina debate. I'm again not a huge chem guy.
Yeah,
What do you guys
supposedly,
call
even according.
abiogenesis when there's no difference between abiogenesis and spontaneous generation? Why do you use their words to make it sound, legit when you know that it's
It's
not?
Latin. It's abiogenesis. So
Which means what?
it's the term we refer to the start of life. But
Life
I
from
I
non-life,
don't
right?
know. Well, I
Wait a
guess if you
minute.
want to refer to it that way, that's a really weird way to phrase it. Like again, your life from non-life.
No, I'm not.
Sure. Do you think atoms exist?
What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
I'll literally explain it in 2 seconds. Do you think atoms exist?
It's a good model, sure.
And do you think you're made up of atoms? Do
Something like that.
you think atoms are alive?
In some way, they
Okay.
can be.
Do you think atoms are alive in the same way that you're alive?
No, because I am an organ of organs
Sure.
and
So you
organisms.
agree that life, you, comes from life that's not you, atoms.
No, I don't agree with that. I came from a genetic code, and the
Okay,
atoms
so
were
genetic
assembled
codes
in
aren't the
accordance with that
body
code.
that you have.
Where did my body come from?
It came from a bunch of molecules when you
The
ate
genetic
things.
sequence wrote my
No.
body. Yes, it wrote
Yes.
my body.
It wrote your body in the sense that it was chemical reactions.
Okay, if that's how you want to sum it up, sure, whatever.
Do you think do you think you're made up of genetic code? Like do you think when you were like a zygote and then you became a kid, it was just a bunch of DNA that just like came into your body, or do you think it was
Mitosis.
like hmm?
Yeah, mitosis.
Mitosis is like the splitting of never mind.
Genetic
It's
code,
um
right?
it's yeah, but again, it's you're not understanding when you're a zygote, you don't have the body mass that you do as an adult right now.
And
Where did that come from?
the earth.
Did your mom just eat a bunch of rocks while she was pregnant?
I'm sure she ate potatoes. Does that come from the earth?
Are you made of only potatoes?
Did I say that? I'm made of only potatoes? Did those words come out of my mouth
Well,
or your
what
mouth?
other things are you made up of?
All sorts of stuff, man.
Do you think any of it is not alive?
The salt in my body is probably not alive.
So part of your living self is from non-life. We can agree.
It's from the genetic sequence organizing the non-life.
So you think the salt in your body came from the DNA sequence?
No, I didn't say that.
Did
Did I
it
say that?
come from things that you ate?
Yeah.
And those things that you ate, they're also made up of molecules that are not alive, or no?
Well, I mean, the only thing you eat that's not alive is salt, hopefully. Everything else you eat was alive at one time, right?
I mean,
We don't eat dirt,
I
right?
don't think calcium is alive either, right?
Well, it's in something that's alive, right? We don't eat non-life, except for salt.
So again, oxygen and carbon, atoms of life, right? Or we're all organic molecules. Like these things, these molecules aren't alive, but suddenly you put them all together, and whoa, life from non-life.
Wait, who puts them all together? I or who?
Well, when you eat, all these molecules have chemical reactions inside your body.
You think we made the genetic code, or did
No,
it come from somewhere else?
who's we? What do you mean? Did we make the genetic
Human
code?
race, did we create the genetic
No,
sequence?
the
We
human race did
discovered
not
it,
create
right?
genetic code.
Right, we discovered it, and all the animals have different genetic codes. And they're all
We
like,
to some extent. I mean, we all share genes.
yeah, but we're not dogs, right?
Um, are you gonna make like the fish coming from non-fish kind of thing? We could do the evolution. I would love to.
No, I was talking about, spontaneous generation. You believe that life sprang up out of the rocks, non-life. That's what abiogenesis is. You believe in
Not
something that's been
really,
debunked for
but
like
you
100 years?
again also agree with this.
No, I don't.
Do you think molecules are alive?
Dude, you're not going to ask me questions and then make a baseless assertion there at the end. So therefore, you believe in abiogenesis. That's not how that works.
Yes, you believe non-living molecules can create living organisms.
Not without the genetic sequence, they can't. There has to be a code.
Okay, do you think genetic sequences are alive?
It's information. Information can't be alive.
Okay, so you think genetic sequences are non-life and you come from genetic sequences?
Do you see what you're doing? It's funny
You
because
agree with this. I don't
you
know
do.
why you don't agree with this.
You,
This is like a very
okay,
basic
just
thing
because I agree that we have stuff in us that aren't alive
that you come
doesn't
from things
mean
that
that
aren't alive.
doesn't
You
mean that
are
I
made of
believe
things that are
that.
not
Hold on,
alive.
bro. Can you stop talking for a second? You got the. Just chill out for a second.
Eh,
So
I'm
you
very calm.
believe you believe that life sprang up out of the rocks, that consciousness animated the rocks, and the rocks call themselves Larry, right? All
Is
by
that what I
themselves
believe,
without.
really?
Is it? Do you believe in a God, a creator?
Nope.
Then that's what you believe.
I never said anything about consciousness.
Yeah, I know, because you'd avoid it like the plague, because you know that's the end of your argument. That the
You
consciousness
want to
can't be
talk about
produced from
consciousness?
rocks.
We can
Yeah,
talk about
what do you know
consciousness.
about consciousness scientifically? What can you prove?
So consciousness is a product of the brain. So once you get enough neurons in your brain, you kind of have a subjective experience. Consciousness is just a term we refer to a set of actions of the brain. So like just like how preferences don't really exist, preferences is just a term that refers to a bunch of actions taken. So when you say I like chocolate ice cream over vanilla ice cream, you're not really talking about anything in reality. You're just saying, I'm going to do a bunch of these actions and not a bunch of these actions. That's what a preference is. You're doing a bunch of one actions and not another actions. Consciousness is the same way. Your brain is just doing a bunch of one of these actions and not a bunch of these other actions.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're saying things that are true, and then you do like a baseless assertion where you add it in there. So therefore, you believe
Wait, do
that
you not
life
agree with
came
what I
from
just
non-life.
said? I feel like what I said made perfect sense.
I said you're saying truisms. You're saying things that are true. Do you hear that part?
I know, so you agree with what I just said.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that
Okay,
consciousness sprang up out of the rocks.
true. I never said that.
Okay, so we're in agreement that there has to be some sort of creator to create the information because of
No,
the
why would
law
we
of
have to be in
information.
agreement?
So do you think the consciousness sprang up out of the rocks all by itself without a director? Some kind of
Nope.
directed panspermia or something?
No, I just said consciousness is just a word we refer to a bunch of actions.
So
Just
no.
like a preference is a word that we refer to for a bunch of actions.
So you
Like
don't
when you
believe
say
in a
you love
creator.
someone, you're just referring to a bunch of actions. Hey, I'm gonna marry this person. That's an action. Hey, I'm gonna do other things with this person. That's a bunch of actions. Hey, if there's a risk of our lives, I'm gonna choose them over me. That's another action. It's just a reference to a bunch of actions. Same thing as preference, same thing as consciousness.
Yeah, it is what it is. I agree when you say stuff like that.
So
It is
where
what
does
it is.
the spraying
But
out of
hold on,
rocks
hold
came
on,
from?
hold on. But you're claiming there is no God, so you're an atheist claiming that there's no creator. You don't believe in directed panspermia
I
or
didn't say
anything.
that, by the way, just for the record.
Well, you said no. It was the first thing you said. The last like
No, I
30
said I never
seconds.
said there is no creator. I said I have no need
You
to believe
said
in one.
no when I asked you a question. That was the first thing that you said. I said
You
you don't
said,
believe
"Do
in
you
directed
believe in a creator?"
panspermia.
And I said, "No."
Okay, that would make you an atheist?
Yes, that's not saying there is no creator.
Okay. So it's your religious belief then.
I don't think you know what religion is.
What do you know what belief is?
Yes, I also know what lack of belief is. Do I have a lack of belief or a belief?
I guess you have a lack of belief.
There you go.
So
Yep.
you have a lack of belief that there's
hmm
a creator. So that means you have a positive belief that life and all the organisms on Earth spring up out of the chemical compounds of the
Or
rock
explained by something else. Yeah.
all by themselves. Like all this
All by
complexity.
themselves is a weird way to phrase that. I don't know why you're saying they sprang up
Well, they
out of
didn't have any
nowhere
help,
all by
right?
themselves.
There was
Hmm?
no help, right? You don't believe in help?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they sprang up all by themselves. Like plants aren't
Well,
helped by anything, and
well,
they don't spring up by
who
themselves.
watered them then? Who planted the
Hmm?
seed? Who planted the seed and who watered?
Say that. Plants of the seed in the water. Say that one more time.
If you don't believe that life sprang up all by itself, then who planted the seed?
Those things aren't true dichotomies, right? So if you mean spring up by itself means no external existence, sorry, no external assistance by a mind or a person, then yes, I would say it sprang up all by itself. But you're kind of making that sound like it came from nothing, which isn't the case.
The ontological primitive is a true dichotomy. Either God created the heavens and the earth, or he didn't. What's the third option?
That's not a true
You have a third
dichotomy.
option? Okay, do you have a third option?
Yeah, neither of those things exist.
Neither what things?
So God and the heavens and the earth, either God created them or he didn't create them, or there's no God. So there's no heavens.
Okay, no God is one answer.
Cool.
There is a
God
God,
created them
another
is another
answer.
answer, and God didn't create them is another
What's your third
answer.
position?
I just said God doesn't exist. God created the heavens and the earth. God didn't create the heavens and the earth. Or something else created the heavens and the earth.
Okay, the first and the third one are the same thing. God
How are the
didn't,
first and the
and
third
God
ones the
didn't.
same thing?
You said God didn't exist. Well, if he didn't exist, he didn't create anything. Then you said God didn't create anything. That's the same thing.
No, God can exist and not create the heavens and the earth.
So you think there could be a God and he didn't create anything, it just sprang up abiogenesis all by
Yep.
itself.
Yes.
So you
So
believe in spontaneous
there are
generation.
Christian believers in abiogenesis and evolution. This is a thing that
Do you
exists.
believe in spontaneous generation? Life from non-life?
Yeah, you believe in it too.
No, I believe in a creator. Hello?
Dude, are molecules alive?
What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
Because you
Talking about a
believe
creator.
life comes from non-life, just like me.
No, I don't. Not in the
Okay,
way that
let's
you
try it
believe.
another way.
That's a
Is
straw man.
God alive
You're
like
straw
people are?
manning me. You're
Is
putting words in my
God
mouth.
is God alive like people are alive?
I couldn't say.
Would it be safe to say no since he doesn't occupy space and time? Like life occupies space and time?
I don't know if that's what he's doing. Never met the guy.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
assume if God doesn't occupy space and time, he's not alive. He's not alive like all other living things are. So even in your world, life comes from non-life, or at least not the same kind of life.
No, in my world, life comes from a creator. That's
That's
where the
not
specificity
alive
is.
like all other life is.
So you say God is not alive. But if
Yes,
God
because he doesn't
created,
occupy space and time. He isn't made up of organic molecules. He doesn't have any sort of respiratory system, circulatory system, no nervous system. He's not made up of cells. God's not
I think your
alive.
definition of life is extremely limited and mechanical, where there
I
could
think
be
you
entities
are
that
using a
exist.
really, really non-existent definition of life then. What do you mean by life?
Um, Consciousness. I think consciousness can exist outside of the body.
So if we ever create an AI, do you think it's going to be alive like we're alive?
No, it's just
No?
programs.
But what happens if it has consciousness?
What if a rock fell on my big toe? What are we talking about?
What happens if it had consciousness?
Then we created it to have consciousness.
Okay. So that's life from
Life?
wires and,
No, life from
you
life
know,
because we're alive and we created
when
AI.
you say from, do you mean is produced by in a sense of it's made up of, or it was designed by?
Designed.
So God again is not life. God wasn't designed.
I
There's
didn't
no
say
way to
God
get
was
around this.
designed.
God cannot be like the same things we are.
I didn't
God
say he
cannot be
was
alive like we
designed.
are. Huh?
Were you implying that I said he was designed? Or were you just making a
If
statement?
God is alive like we are and he's not designed, life came from non-life yet again.
So you think by saying that God's not alive, therefore spontaneous generation could happen, God could just be sitting there twiddling his thumbs and not
No,
creating
no
anything,
way
and
you
life
put
would
it.
still...
Life has to come from non-life. Because you either have to say God is alive and we came from life that way, but then
I didn't
God
say
came.
that.
God, I'm
I
just giving
didn't
you the
say...
options. Sure. Again, it's very simple. So either you say God is alive like we are, right, which is fine. So human life came from God life, but then God life came from no life. So that's life from non-life. You could say God isn't alive like we are, but then human life came from non-God life. Or you could say we're made up of molecules which aren't alive, but humans are alive. So human life came from non-life. There's no way around this.
I see that you put a whole lot of words in my mouth and said a whole lot of things that were true. But the claim is simple. Either God created the heavens or the earth or he didn't. Right? So it's a true
No.
dichotomy. Hold, bro, can you let me finish? Would that be okay? Is that like agreeable? Just checking. So, if it was created by a creator, that would explain all the functional sequence specified complexity that we see when we look at organisms. Without that creator, there's a lot of explaining for the atheists to explain how all this complexity was not designed, because anytime you have information that's exchanged, there has to be a sender, a receiver, and an agreed upon medium. And in this case, that makes the code, the genetic sequence, makes it outside of creation from just spontaneous generation.
Do you think information comes from God?
Well, you think it comes from the rocks.
Well, I'm just saying, because if you think information comes from God, there's no reason an atheist would have to explain why they don't believe in God-given information. An atheist would never say they think DNA is God-given information if they're an atheist. So
Right,
if
they would
God is
say it came from the rocks.
no, but you're saying that DNA is information, and an atheist needs to explain this information. But if God is necessary for information, an atheist would never say that DNA is information because they would never say it's God given. They don't believe in God. So there's no reason an atheist would have to explain something they would never say.
Right, so it would have to come from the Spaceballs then, right? The rocks.
If you think that's what atheists say,
Well, if there's not a creator, then they're just springing up out of the rocks, right?
no. Again, we've
So who
seen
created it
things.
then?
There is no who. Again, that's again not
Okay,
a
then
true
it sprang up
dichotomy.
out of the rocks. What's the third position?
Do you think plants grow like literally from rocks? Like, do you think like there's or like a rock
Well,
tree and
obviously
then it
they come from
grows?
seeds. I'm thinking clearly. Plants come
Okay,
from seeds. You think they come
okay.
from rocks.
Where do I think that? When have I said that?
If there's no creator to create them, then that must mean they came about by a natural happenstance with lucky wind and magic time, and created the genetic sequence for
Doesn't need to be.
self-reproduction and
It
survival.
doesn't need to
That's
be.
what you have to think.
No, it doesn't need to be luck for starters. And again, chemical reactions aren't luck. And the time thing is insignificant, right? Like in my worldview, there's been more than plenty. There's been more than enough time, right? Um, so I don't know what the time thing is, and I don't know what the luck thing is. And I've explained it multiple times. I believe molecules exist. Life comes from molecules.
All right, so let's wrap it up one more time.
Sure.
I said it's a true dichotomy.
And I
There's
disagree.
greater or there's not, and you want to provide a third position as the wrap up of your argument, and I want to pass the mic.
Yeah. It's not a true dichotomy. That's the only issue that you're facing.
What's the third option?
I just said there's just another creator that isn't God, that just does nothing. That's another option, right?
That's option one, by the way. That's the creator god.
No, that's a non-creator God.
So you said there could be another god that created it, and that's
No, I said there could be another God that does nothing. So a non-creator God.
so a non-creator god created it.
Nope. A non-creator God exists and does nothing. And then there's still just molecules. There you go. Or there's just molecules.
So you think the universe is eternal and there was not a Big Bang?
Those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
What? Either it had a beginning or it didn't. Is that your
Do
stick?
you
Like
think?
everything is just no, it's not mutually exclusive?
Well, you're making them sound that way, and they're just truly not. So I can explain it. Do you think
What's
time had a
the
beginning?
third? What's the third position for the universe had a beginning or it didn't?
No, the universe didn't have a beginning.
Our universe didn't have a beginning. You're saying that?
Yeah. We want to look up the term beginning and see if it makes sense to explain time with a beginning. Should I look it up and read it out loud?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So again, remember when we're talking about the universe, we're talking about space-time. So you have to say that time, in part, had a beginning. So let's see if this makes sense by saying time has a beginning. The point in time or space at which something starts. And then we can look up the definition of starts, and let's see if this makes sense. Begin, so now it's circular already. Happen or come into being. We can look up it to come into or happen, but those things aren't going to get us anywhere. But we're using it as a verb. Begin or be reckoned from a particular point in time or space. So it doesn't really make much sense to say that time started or time had a beginning. It just turns circular, right?
No, it's just showing that the people who are defining the word time don't comprehend time.
Is it more likely that you don't comprehend how people are using the term time?
No, simply by defining a word with a word means you don't understand the word.
When did
So when
we
you
define a word using a word?
time, the first definition you gave had the word time in it.
Yes, beginning.
No, before that,
Start?
first point in time.
Yeah. Beginning, the pointed time or space at which something starts. Start, begin or be reckoned from a particular pointed time or space. Time does not fit in either of these definitions. How could time be a
Yeah,
pointed time or space at which something starts?
the beginning of it is what set the beginning of time. You get it?
Sorry, I'm using really shitty first gen AirPods. Can you say that one more time?
When the physical universe was set, that's when time itself began.
Again, you're saying begin, and that doesn't make sense for time. Time didn't have a beginning.
Yeah, absolutely did.
All right, how about I phrase it this way? Time has existed for all of time. That sound better?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how could
And
time have
time
a
doesn't exist
beginning?
because time doesn't exist in eternity.
Do you think time always exists?
No.
Okay, so let's look up the definition of always and see if it would make sense to say time always exists. Um,
What's your definition of time?
at all times, on all occasions, we can look it up. The indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. So it doesn't end because it's indefinite. It doesn't have a beginning because it doesn't start at a point in time. And then we know it exists always because time is at all times on all occasions. So it kind of sounds like
No,
time is eternal.
read the definition of time again.
What do you mean?
Read it again.
So always is at all times on all occasions. Time is at all times, right?
Read the definition of time again.
The indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole.
Okay, so the past, present, and future of what?
Existence.
Existence of what?
I don't know what you want me to say to that. Like, everything that there is, just existence as being, whatever you think being means.
No, I'm getting to the point of the existence of this universe.
Yes.
Yeah. So the motion of this universe, the past, present, and future of it, that
Yes.
is what's recorded as time. And I'm saying this universe is a creation. So at the
Okay.
beginning of this creation, or the past, present, and future of it, is what's regarded as time. So outside of this creation, there's no time.
Yeah, there's no outside of space.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about a concept as a beginning and things in that nature.
Yes.
And so that's why I'm speaking from a position of the end being set from the beginning by the creator. Like for
Cool.
him, there
There's
is
no outside of
time.
space and there's no before time.
There's no what space? What is space?
All in it's well, if you want a definition of space, I actually don't know off the top of my head. So I don't want to lie to you and pretend like I know the definition. Space definition. We're getting into some real metaphysics here. A continuous area or expanse which is free, available, or unoccupied. The dimensions of height, depth, and width within which all things exist and move.
Yeah, so the thing in which we move, live, and have our being.
All things. So the only way for
The
God to
thing.
exist outside of space, the only way for God to exist outside of space is he would have to be no thing.
No, he'd have to be space itself.
Okay, so now you're a pantheist?
No. And you
You
mean
just said
panentheist?
you just said God is the universe. God is space and time.
The universe exists within him. It doesn't take all of him to be the universe. That's where
Okay.
that whole
Again, there's
concept.
no such thing outside of space.
There's no such thing outside of him. Absolutely.
So great. If you're defining God as space and or time, which you have to define space because it's dependent on time and time is dependent on space. Now you're just saying God is the
Not
universe. That's
time is
pantheism.
not space is not dependent on time. Time is dependent on space because it requires some active progression or movement to be recorded um, within
Well,
space
it kind of
to exist.
depends. Like photons move through space how we experience it, but to their point of view, they don't move through space. So in order to determine height, length, and width, you do need time. Because you need to have a difference. You need to have a change. And that's only possible with time. Photons don't experience time, so they don't experience space really. They're not outside of space because they still travel through time. They're still within the universe, but they don't experience space.
Time being that recorded instance of past, present, and future collectively,
Yes.
with only the recorded movements of the solar bodies or the celestial bodies,
Uh-huh.
there's no way to keep time. besides a person arbitrarily starting a moment to start counting.
So there are
Um,
constants in this universe. We know of one. The speed of light is
and that
constant. We know
that's
that
one.
actually, if you want to get super physics wise, we do actually have a unit of seconds. Those seconds, I believe, is measured in the amount of oscillations of a certain ion. Uh, Here, seconds
That's
true
not
measurement.
that's
We
not
know
that
oscillations.
doesn't dictate the second.
So
That doesn't dictate
because
the second.
yeah,
That
it
doesn't dictate
does.
the second. It just so happens that the oscillations correspond with what we dictate a second to be.
No, so we know that oscillations are constant.
Didn't record the
Uh,
oscillation and decide what a second was. We had already decided what a second was before we recorded the oscillation, and we judged that the oscillation happens exactly at every second. So we know it's an accurate measurement for what we count as a second.
yeah, but it's still constantly defined by 9 million. Wait, sorry, what number is that? 9,192,631,770 cycles of a cesium atom.
It doesn't
I
matter.
just
It
skipped
just
the
so
check.
happens that that many cycles matches what we register and dictate a second to be.
Or what happens if that many cycles is what we determine a second to be?
That's what I said. We already
So,
determined what a second was before we found out what those cycles were.
That's
yeah,
right. Galileo was working on a pendulum and to create a device that produced equal time.
what do you mean equal time? Equal time doesn't exist.
Well, the thing was back in the day when prior to clocks, people were trying to devise or come up with a device that would create equal time for everyone. So Galileo proposed the idea of a pendulum while in church.
Cool. That doesn't change the fact that it's okay. So a cesium atom's oscillation would be constant and the speed of light is constant. But if you get a cesium atom to travel near the speed of light, it will never reach it because massed objects can't travel at the speed of light, only massless things can. You understand that a second for that super fast cesium atom would be a different time to an outside observer than the one. Do you guys know about Lorenz's special transformations? Like Interstellar is a whole movie about this. Right? So it doesn't work with how that works. Once you go up faster, well, time changes, but it doesn't really change. So to have 1 second, we use a constant, either the speed of light, or we could use oscillations of an atom.
Yes, but it's you have to accept and understand that we already predetermined what a second is. And it just so happens that those observations, the cycles of what occurs, match what we already determined a second to be.
That's
But you
right. Then they just
understand,
shifted over.
if there's time dilation from an outside observer, now you have different lengths of seconds, right? This is literally Einstein's theory.
No,
This is Einstein's
no,
general
no,
Okay.
no, absolutely
Yes.
not.
Yes.
Because the whole
Okay.
thing you have to understand is because we already predetermined what a second to be, just because those oscillations are altered depending on their environment and other outside factors,
Their
it's
speed.
not that time is distorted. It's that the oscillations no longer match what we have already determined a second to be. It's not that the seconds change. Seconds don't change. You can still go to that same place and still count 1 Mississippi. You're still going to match a second. It's not that time changes. It's just
Oh,
that
okay.
what we're using to count what we determine a second to be is altered by the environment or an outside force or whatever.
Okay, so you're pretending like seconds apply the same way in different places in space, and they just don't. From an outside observer,
I'm not
that's just not
pretending.
correct.
I'm not pretending. I am saying by understanding that a second is a length of time that was
Whoa,
predetermined by
really?
a man's mind. It was predetermined by a man's mind. You can go into a day with the passing of a sun. You can go into you can go into dividing the day by the movement of the sun. You can get out a sundial and start dividing hours into the amount of degrees into a 360-degree rotation. You can start doing that. You start getting into minutes, and I even have to concede that when it comes to hours and such, even that's pretty arbitrary, because then you get into degrees and what you're calling a degree and certain things. But that's more arbitrary on the name, not really the length, because you set a circle anywhere, it's going to have the same amount of passing of degrees, or whatever you want to call it, a wobble, a dawdle, or whatever word you want to use. That those segments of passing you can divide into 24, and whatnot. But when it comes to a second, again, that is all something we predetermine. We use the passing of the sun to dictate our time.
Well,
And
we
by
don't.
that
So you're
passing,
just wrong.
yes, we do. Yes,
Okay.
we do. As man, we have. You can go in all recorded history of mankind, and you can see why us as humanity. I don't know about you yourself and your mind and your basement ideology,
We're
but as
standardized units
mankind,
across the world.
as humanity,
Yes.
you can see what we have agreed is what we use to count time. What we
Cool.
even use time for, to calculate the passing of our day, of our come on, bro. It's like
Come on, bro. So, do you think, what
you
do you think is more objective? The amount of oscillations of a molecule, or sorry, of an atom, or me saying that 1 second is 1 second because we all agree it's 1 second? Which one's more objective?
Bro, the whole thing comes from trying to make time a material substance. It's the
So
whole thing with
maybe,
space, time, and everything. It's all
maybe
trying to
we
make
should,
time a material substance that's manipulated or changed and whatnot. And it goes into bubble theory and all this other stuff. The
maybe we
whole
should just
thing,
measure
bro,
it.
is that time is a collective thing that is agreed upon by
Not
humanity as a
objective. Got it.
record of keeping the passing of our moments while we exist on this earth. I mean, in reality, every day is the same day. Every day is the same day. There's no difference between Monday and Saturday. It's the same day.
So I'm
You
just
got the
glad that you
passing of the
agreed.
sun. You want to start differentiating it. You're going to start looking into solar cycles, but even then, they have cycles where those cycles appear on different days. So you can't really dictate, well, that day is this day. You're just in a part of a cycle existing in the same day. That's the best you can actually say without going into an arbitrary area of ideology and conception and all that other stuff.
Good thing we have a standardized unit, and it's measured in the amount of oscillations of an atom, because saying we all agree on something makes
No,
it true isn't the case.
no, it's not record. It's the again. We do have a standardized measurement of a second. I agree on that. That's the point I'm making, and that was set before we ever observed the oscillations of that atom. It just so happens that when we observed the oscillations of that atom, it corresponded to the standardized length of a second that we had already determined to be. So when that atom's oscillations are altered, it's not that time is altered, it's because an other force is altering the sequence of those oscillations, the cycle of those oscillations. That's
Okay.
all it is.
So I feel like we're doing a lot of talking. Let's see if we can do this in another way. Two people here. I want you to, who else agrees with this dude?
I wasn't actually listening to the last part, sorry, but typically, I was agreeing. I would agree with him mostly up until the last 2 minutes.
Okay. So you agree that we don't use oscillations of of an atom to determine seconds. We use a universal agreement.
Oh no, I'm aware that we use the atomic clock for GPS. Yeah.
Okay, so
No,
we agree that
that's
one
not the question.
second. We agree one
That's not
second
the
is
question.
determined by quartz crystal.
Rephrase that question to actually capture the heart of what we were discussing. It's not that, do we use the cycles of an atom to calculate a second? Of course
Do
we
we?
do. We use
Oh,
that
okay.
to
So then there's no
calculate a second
combo.
right now. But the point is, the actual question that you'd ask is, was the standard length of a second determined before we observed the oscillations of that atom?
No, because two people
Oh,
can't agree on what a second is, and I can prove it right now. Does anyone agree with what he just said?
were we counting seconds before we observed the oscillations of that atom?
Yes.
Not by a standardized unit.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. Let's test it. Two people.
Well,
Not
Who
didn't
by a
agrees
they
with him?
standardized unit?
before the
Let's see.
Not
cesium
by a
atom? Didn't
standardized
they
unit?
use quartz crystal?
Well, now, I mean, they did use quartz crystal, but now we got even more precise. So let's see who
Precise to
agrees with
what?
them.
Precise to what?
We
Did
just
a
made a
second just
more precise
arbitrarily
determination.
appear? Where did the
Yeah,
term a
we
second come
changed.
from?
Yeah, we changed
Where
what a
did the
second
term a
meant.
second? Where did the term a second come from?
So we changed what a second meant. I don't know what the etymology of it is. But if someone agrees with you, let's do a test. Let's see if you guys can agree on what 10 seconds is. Do we want to try that?
So are you just saying that a second is
People
how
can't
long
agree.
something takes to vibrate? Is that what you're saying?
How many vibrations occur? The amount of vibration.
So a second is the amount of a time that a vibration occurs, or
Nope,
the amount of
it's the
vibrations?
amount of vibrations.
Okay, so if I say this took me 7 minutes, you're saying it took me X
You're
number
not a
of
constant
vibrations.
unit. You don't do things at a constant rate. Good thing atoms do. So let's see if we can agree. Let's see if two people
Okay,
have a
no. So
standard
if I
unit of a
say
second.
meet me at coffee tomorrow at 10, I'm essentially
Yep.
saying meet me at coffee tomorrow during X vibrations.
Well, you're not saying it in those terms, but if you were to use an atomic clock, you would be, yes.
No, in reality,
Okay,
you're
let's see.
saying
Okay,
meet me
let's see.
tomorrow when the sun is at a certain point of the
Great. Let's
sky.
see. Let's see. Let's do that right now.
That's where we
So
got seconds
I
from.
have a stopwatch in front of me, and I'm gonna press start. I'll tell you when I press start, and I want one of you to say when you think 10 seconds is, and then I want the next person to say when they think 20 seconds is, and let's see if you guys get it right.
As
Because you
a
guys
second
obviously
is
have a
Point. What are
standard
you
unit,
trying to prove, man? What's
but you
the
guys
point
don't
you're
have a
trying to
standard
prove?
unit. Let's see. Let's see if you guys have a standard unit. Let's go.
We know that they measure seconds based on the vibration of some atom or something.
Yes, and we didn't have standard units before that, and I can prove it
That
right now because what we
that
had
doesn't
was people
mean that
counting.
time is the vibration of whatever that atom is.
Okay, let's see if that's the case. If you think it's the rotations around the sun or people agreeing upon it, let's see if we can agree upon it.
That's just how they
bro.
measure time.
Yes, let's
Like
see if
you're
it
not
was
making a
standard.
point.
Let's see if it was
Hours,
standardized.
bro, hours are the divisions of the day.
Okay, let's
Okay,
see if it's
days and nights.
standardized.
Oh my goodness! Well,
It's not
you
like
can go back
human.
thousands of years of history, and hours existed. You can
Cool.
find out the
Let's see
minutes,
if they were standardized.
seconds are divisions of
By
a minute.
having humans try to guess what 10 seconds is, what's that going to prove?
Let's see if it was standardized. It's going to prove that it's not standardized.
It
Let's see if
wasn't
that's the case.
standardized by people sitting there counting 10 seconds.
Oh, so was it standardized by people agreeing upon it?
Bro,
Not that way.
what it's proving is what I've been getting at the whole time, that time is arbitrary.
Let's
It's
see.
agreed upon consensus. If we agree
Let's
upon
see.
that this clock counts 10 seconds and
Okay,
we're
let's
all
see if
looking
you
at the same
agree.
clock, then we're gonna match
Okay.
10 seconds. But without
Okay,
a clock, without a standardized version, we're not gonna match because it's arbitrary.
let's see if you guys agree. Ready? So I'm going to tell you when it starts. You're going to count 10 seconds, and the other person will hear, and they're going to count 10 seconds.
The
Humans
fact that
can't
this
count
new guy
seconds
doesn't know that he's
accurately.
making your point, Yahweh, is hilarious.
Let's
I'm
see if you
telling you,
agree.
bro.
I want to see if you guys agree. Let's do it. Who's ready?
Two, nobody's going to do it because everybody knows that humans are not good at as timekeeping
So we can't
devices.
standardize a second just by human consensus.
Not by
correct?
sitting there thinking about it. We use devices to do it.
So Yahweh, do you agree with that or no?
No, you're making a false dichotomy there. You're just saying
There's no dichotomy at all.
if I can't sit here and think about it and make 10 or 20 seconds, that's not what we're doing. We're using units of measure like the
Standardized unit.
sun, for example. That's where it came from, is the sun.
Well, let's see if that's the case.
Bro, the best we're gonna get is
How?
if we tell
By measuring the
everybody to
sun?
count
So
one.
no, we don't even need to
one
measure the sun. You
second.
guys can look at any
We all say
celestial
1
body. We
Mississippi
all
a second,
rotate
we're gonna
around.
get close. Oh my bad.
What'd you say?
I said if we all count 1 Mississippi for each second, we're gonna get close. But even still,
Oh, but it's
depending
not
on
gonna
how
be
fast or
standardized.
slow each person says Mississippi, I said it has to be standardized. Otherwise, it's arbitrary. It has to be a consensus agreement on what that measurement is. And that's why the oscillations of that atom correspond to the standardized length
Unit.
of what we create a second to be. It was already set, and it just matched more precisely on what we were saying it is.
Let's
And if
see
anything,
if that's the
it's
case.
The only reason to even say it matches precision is because that precision is based off of the movement of the sun
Yes,
and the
let's
division
see
of
if you
24
can
hours
make a precise.
into
I agree.
degrees and the
Okay.
time frame it takes for the passing of those degrees.
Okay.
And so the
Yes.
precision of the oscillation of the atom matches the predetermined set movement of the sun that's used as a preset
Let's
or
see.
standardized
Yeah.
version of length of measuring time. So again,
Yes.
all
Let's
arbitrary.
see if you can
So
measure
every
the
time you say
movement.
"let's see," we are telling you that we reject that as a test to determine if
So
humans
why
know
is
math.
using two people looking at something any different than using two people to look at the sun?
Because we're using devices to make things more precise.
Sure.
Exactly like using a ruler, having two people with the ruler rather than two people just sort of eyeball it.
So what device did they use to standardize their time before we used cesium?
They
What
defined
device?
it. They defined it in terms of days, 24 hours, and then
Okay.
minutes and seconds.
Sure. So we can all do like division here, right?
You're speaking to a math professor, so yes, I assume
Okay.
Matthew can
Cool.
do division.
So we know that there's going to be a certain amount of seconds in a minute, and then a certain amount of minutes in an hour, and then a certain amount of hours in a day. So let's see if you guys get the seconds right, and then we can see if you got the minutes right, and then we can see if you got the hours right, and then see if you got the right amount of time that would be in a
What
day.
is this argument, dude? They're not sitting here with atomic clocks in their
I
hand.
know,
Like,
because they don't
what
have a
is this argument?
standardized unit. People
Yeah, we
aren't
do.
standardized units.
We have
But
a
a second was originally defined as 86,000 400ths of a day, right?
Yeah. So let's see if you guys, as humans, can determine that
What by
They
by
said
sitting here
they
thinking
can
about it?
determine it with a
by
tool.
doing
is
whatever
what
you
they're
need to do, other than using the current standardized unit we have right now. Whatever you
Humans
need to
are
do.
bad timepieces. We can't do
So-
it just by thinking about it.
So by looking at the sun, do you think it's going to make it easier?
If you use certain timekeeping devices, yes.
Sure. What timekeeping device do you want to use?
sundial.
Sure.
You want to use a
Sundial, a
sundial?
clock.
Sure. So I'll give you a sundial, right? You could get it as precise as you want. Let's see. As long as you don't use the oscillations of a cesium atom, you guys can use whatever device you want. You guys can. I'll even give you time to do this. You can get whatever device you need, and then I'll just ask you later. Let's see how long if you guys can get a minute correct, and we'll just do the math to see if you got a day
They
correct.
already
We
answered
Okay, we're not
reject
going to do
that
a
as a
minute. We'll
test.
do 10 seconds. I'll do 10 seconds. Tell me
Okay,
when to go
great.
and then move on.
Sure. Someone else is going to do 10 seconds and see if you guys get it right. Let's see.
15
Okay,
minutes
we're
on
going to do this and then you're going to shut up, okay?
Yes,
So
exactly. So if you guys get it wrong, we agree that humans are a standardized unit, and if you get it right, I'll be really impressed.
everyone
No, we
already
reject
agreed
that.
we cannot perfectly know time intuitively. That's retarded. Stop continuing to
Why
try
do
to
you
make
think
that.
looking at a sun would help you know time better?
Okay, tell me when to go. Tell me when to go.
So
Oh, I need someone else. We need two people for this.
You're
you
saying
do-
you're saying there's people who don't know the time of day based off the sun?
Yeah, absolutely. They don't know a second based off of the sun, or a minute or an hour based off of the sun.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, let's see. You think you can do it?
We're not
Someone already
saying
accepted.
it's to the accuracy of an atomic clock, but people definitely know the time of day based on where the
So
sun is.
it's not accurate to the definition of a second we currently use.
It's a colloquial term. Do you understand what that means?
Okay, so we agree that it isn't based off of consensus. It's just, well, we mean a
all
rough
already
estimate.
agreed there's a standard that we use, which is the atomic clock, and we also agree that if you do it by your eyeball, you're going to be a little off. Yeah.
Okay, so we agree that a second is determined by the amount of oscillations of a cesium crystal, not by what people said.
No.
Ah,
We agree
there it
that
is.
a second. We agree that a second is what 86 thousandths of a day. That's what we agree a second on, and
Yes,
we
exactly.
agree.
And we'll just do the math.
And we agree that the oscillations of a cesium atom corresponds to 86 thousandths of a day, and
Yes,
so
and let's see
that
if you can do that.
that tells you that regardless if a cesium atom oscillates differently, whether if it oscillates differently in a different environment, or if its oscillations are off to where it no longer
second is different.
corresponds to 86 thousandths of a day, 86 thousandths of a day doesn't change.
Yeah, it would, because we determine seconds, thus minutes, thus hours, thus 24 hours differently. A day would change. Sorry.
No,
If we
it
change our
doesn't,
standard
bro.
units, well, it does. Sorry to tell you.
86,000.
We don't
86,000
base
of
our
a day
day
doesn't
based
change.
off of that.
Really, we don't base our days based off of a standardized unit.
No, this is why we have leap
Okay.
years and shorter days in the years, and why we have daylight savings time. We do it based off the sun.
So when you say day, do you mean 24 hours or do you mean one rotation around the sun?
Well, again, you need to be clear about.
Because if you mean one rotation around the sun, then a second most certainly isn't in reference to one rotation around the sun. Because now you're using time and then you're using celestial navigation. You can't mix
context
up your
matters
units
here,
like that.
though.
I agree.
We're talking about
So-
from solar noon to solar noon the next day. It
okay, so we're
averages to be
using
24 hours.
We're using celestial units, not time.
It's always been celestial units. The whole concept of
but
time
it's not right
itself
now,
is
though, isn't it?
celestial
Right?
units.
Right. We changed
Absolutely,
cesium
it
atoms.
is. The
Really? We
cesium
still-
atom
okay.
corresponds. Oscillations of a cesium atom corresponds to 86 thousandths of a day. That correspondence was what was observed when they observed the oscillations of a cesium atom. It wasn't that the cesium atom came about, we observed the oscillations, and then we're like, oh, we're going to use this thing as a second. No, we're just saying this more closely corresponds to 86 thousandths of a day.
Well, that's
Now,
just
if
not how
the
that
cesium
works.
atom stops oscillating like that, it doesn't mean 86 thousandths of a day changed.
Yeah, it would mean a day change. 24 hours would change. Yeah.
No, all it
You keep
means is
trying
that
to
the oscillations
you keep
of
trying
the
to
cesium
you
atom
keep trying to well, I'll explain what the issue is. You keep trying to use a standardized unit of time, which is measured in oscillations of the cesium atom, and then when you say day, you're using a celestial unit, and you kind of want to mix those up because you know you're wrong here. So we could either
What's
we
the
could either
definition of a
choose
second?
sure. So it's the amount of oscillations of a cesium atom. That's why it's the
Oh,
standard
no,
unit.
no. Now, did the
Sure.
word second
I'll-
exist before we observed the
Yep,
oscillations of a
and it
cesium
wasn't
atom?
standardized.
No, it doesn't matter. Did it exist?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, the colloquial term did. Yeah.
What was it?
It was what people thought a second was, and they just
Okay, how
generally
many
agreed upon it.
oscillations are in a second?
That's how a definition works.
How many oscillations are in a second?
You're asking the wrong question. 1 second is this amount of oscillations.
How many oscillations?
It's 9,192,631,770 cycles. That is 1
Okay,
second.
so multiply that times 60, right? And you get a minute. Correct? And then
Mhm.
multiply that times 60 again, and then you get an hour. Then multiply
Mhm.
that times 24, and whatever that is how many oscillations are in a day. You think
Mhm.
you're making some profound
Yes,
point,
in
but it's
24
completely
hours.
retarded.
Yes, in 24 hours. But what now he's talking about celestial day from whatever you said. What is it? Equinox? Not equinox. What are the months? Vernal, half of the day to half of the night, or half of the day to the next day's halfway around the sun. Sorry, full rotation of the Earth.
Solar noon to solar noon.
Yeah, solar noon to solar noon.
On average, not exactly
Yes,
every day, but on
that's
average.
not 24 hours.
What is the point that you're trying to make?
If you guys think that I'm making a stupid point, just tell them he's wrong, or we could do the stopwatch example.
I'm asking you what the point you're trying to make is. I've
Sure.
never heard
So
you in here before, and you're coming in here with this big thing. So, like, just give
Yeah,
it to us.
also
Thank you.
you're
I appreciate that.
retarded because solar time and sidereal time that they've been pointing out do use they use seconds and hours in their definitions. So like what are you getting at?
Yes, but what I said already was that if we use, I'm assuming solar time is the one where we go around the sun, right?
Solar time uses the sun to determine it, yeah.
Yeah. One solar day isn't exactly 24 hours. Do we
Yeah, I
agree on
already
that?
pointed that out with daylight
So
savings
now
time
we have
and
two
leap
different
years.
units. So a solar day and whatever the other one was. What was it?
Well, a solar
Sidereal?
day.
A
If you don't know
sidereal
what it's
day.
called, then how are you making an argument?
Because
a
I don't need to
solar day,
know what the name of a 24-hour day would be, because you just said 24 hours.
Yeah, solar noon to solar noon. That's 24 hours on average.
Nope, it's not 24 hours.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
It's around.
That's why solar days and
24
sidereal days are not the same.
Right.
Bro, they're
Solar
only
noon to solar noon is
I
a
mean
solar day.
if you're gonna talk solar time, the sun
I
like
never
what
talked
it
solar
does.
time, just for the record. I never
Yeah,
brought
but
that up.
you're trying to say like they're so far off. It's only like it's less than
They're
30
not
seconds. Brother.
standardized. Not standardized.
We already admitted that the
Okay, so
atomic
then
clock is the
tell
standardized version.
that to Yahweh is king. Tell him that
They
what we
already
used
know
before.
that.
So then tell him to say that. Tell him that we used before, right? A solar day is not a standardized unit of time. Tell him that.
It was, brother. Standards change.
Right.
It used to be,
The
yes.
And the whole thing is that the
Wait, the
oscillations of the
standards.
cesium atom are used to standardize the solar day. It's not used to
No, it's
standardize
not.
some other
A
measure. Yes,
solar
it
day has
It
is.
no
is.
reference. A solar day would have no reference to time.
Yes, it
That's
does. What are you
why.
talking about?
Why would a solar day have reference to time?
Oh my
What do you
god.
mean? This is how they do it. They talk about February 24 hours, March minus 18 seconds, June plus 13 seconds. This is why we have leap years and all that kind of stuff, dude. Daylight savings
But one
time, they
solar
use
day is always
time.
one solar day, no matter plus or minus the 4 seconds, right?
No, a solar day changes, but within
What?
that solar day,
What do
you
you mean a
can
solar day changes? The
Oh,
position
like,
of the Earth
Changes the
spinning is
time.
always
how
the
old are
same.
you? How old are you?
How old am
me.
I?
Yes, how old are you?
Me.
Yeah, how many oscillations are you?
Yeah, how
Oh,
old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay, so you're
It's a
19,
retarded argument,
right?
brother. You need
So
to
how
look up solar
many
time
months are
first.
you? How many months are you?
19 times 12.
Exactly. So,
The
and then how many hours are you? How many days are you, right? How many seconds are you, right? It's all based on the cycles of the sun that you have lived through.
cool.
Facts.
You could say you're using a solar day, but you can't
I'm
determine a
saying
solar
you
day
Bro,
at
your
all.
are
whole age
you
is based
are
on the
too.
solar day.
Yes, I guarantee you cannot determine any unit of time using the sun at all.
Yes,
You're
they do.
you're
They use
you're,
units of time to
you're
determine
Really?
how
Let's
long the
see.
day is.
Fine. Let's see. Let's do that. Two of you want to try that?
Whenever you
No,
say
we
"let's
don't
see,"
because we don't
you're
have
setting
atomic
up some
You
clocks.
kind of
guys can't
false
do it.
test, and we
It's
reject
not a
that
false
test.
test. What we did back in the day is two people said, "Hey, the sun looks at this position. I'm going to say it's around this time." Is that not what we used to do?
No,
Okay.
they would use sundials and measure it.
Yes. So we would look at where the sun is, and then whatever the shadow. I said you could use sundials if you want. Where the shadow is casted. Two of you, let's do that and see how close you guys get.
Why?
Because
Like,
we know that
like,
that's
did
not
you just like see
standardized.
some TikTok video and you think you had like some profound
That
insight and
must
you're
be
trying to
it.
bring it
Yeah, I
here?
mean, remember he's a teenager, so yeah.
Remember, you guys can't do this very simple thing or just concede a stupid point.
Wait, okay, let's
You have
just
a
clear the
point.
room here. Do we all agree the atomic clock is the standardized version of time, or what's this guy fighting against?
Well, at the
Yahweh
moment,
thinks that what we
currently,
had before was a standard unit of time.
Yeah, I would agree that before we had
Yes.
our current standard, we had a different standard. Yeah.
And you think it was standardized between all people?
Well, not everybody was smart, right? With this conversation's kind of demonstrating that.
So
yeah,
do we think it was
before,
standardized between all people?
It was close enough. Yes.
Close enough that
So it
most
wasn't
educated
standardized.
people
It
would
was just
agree
close
on. Yeah.
enough. Okay. I don't really like
No,
close
so,
enough when we
so,
Well,
use
you
time.
so
you can't say everyone, brother. Not even everyone uses the standard time right now.
Yes, you can determine the amount of oscillations of cesium crystal, but guess what? The amount of oscillations of cesium crystal will always be the same.
Okay.
Standard unit. There you go. 1 second amount of oscillations. That's my point. Done and done.
well, yeah, and before the cesium atom was the standard, we had a different standard.
And it
We
wasn't
looked at quartz.
standardized.
It was
Oh,
standardized.
quartz
We used to
crystals.
have
I guess
we
quartz
used to have the
crystals, yeah.
quartz crystal, and
Yeah.
before we had the quartz crystal, we had the
Yeah.
pendulum. If you made a
Yeah,
pendulum,
that's not standardized.
well, just because it's not,
I mean, this is just
perfectly,
semantics at this point.
Yes,
It
I
was
agree.
just
So
because
why
it's
don't you
not
just concede the stupid
perfectly
point?
consistent doesn't mean it wasn't a
You know
standard.
what is perfectly consistent?
Yeah,
Do you
there's a
want to
difference
say what's
between
perfectly consistent? We
there's a
all know
difference
what's perfectly
between
consistent, right?
standard.
Wait.
There's a
We all
difference
know
between
which one's the
standard.
perfectly consistent one, right?
The
We
time
all
your
know
mom
which
tells you
one.
to go to sleep.
Yeah, which one's the
Yeah.
perfectly consistent one?
Well, a cesium
here's
atom is a lot more consistent than a pendulum.
no. Here's the thing. What is it most
But which
perfectly?
one's perfectly consistent?
I don't
What's
think
it
a
perfectly?
cesium atom is perfectly consistent.
Really? So you think the amount of oscillations that occur changes?
Well,
The
the
number
amount of
changes?
the amount of oscillations is what determines a second.
Ding,
But
ding, 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 ding. That's
if you
why it's
look at it,
standardized.
but that amount of time can change with motion and
What amount of
temperature.
time? Time is literally defined.
Thank you.
Yeah, you gotta wait till he's finished and then you can hop in. But I get your passion. I didn't mute you, by the way, but
No, I muted him. He needs to stop interrupting.
Or just like bring an actual interesting point about anything.
I mean, you could also like define a second as like the amount of time it takes light to travel such and such distance.
Well,
Yeah.
they kind of do that because they define distance based on how far light travels.
Oh my god, there's no way he actually just said that.
But that's still conventional, right?
Oh my god,
Yeah,
time is
the-
literally defined that way.
Is it not still conventional?
What? No, time is conventional, but it's still defined in an objective number.
Brother, a
That's a
second ago you said
contradiction.
solar time doesn't use units of time.
Yes, solar time is the same as sidereal time. Didn't we agree on that?
Do you know
Well,
how
well,
far off?
what I was
Wait,
saying
you know what
before is
sidereal time is? I think you're a little confused, buddy.
Well, I just didn't know the name for it, but sidereal time or sidereal, well, it's wouldn't be sidereal time.
I don't
It's a
think you know
sidereal
any
day.
of these definitions, and both use units of time that you're talking about.
I'm sure. You just want to
yeah,
bridge using a day, but you won't explain how they're different days, right?
No, I think you need to
yeah.
do a
Okay,
couple
well, a
Google searches to
sidereal
figure out what you're talking about
Sure,
first.
of course.
a
I think I
sidereal
need to do the
day
Google
is the amount
searches.
of time. A sidereal day is the amount of time it takes for a star, any star you want, to come back to the same exact position it was when you started measuring. That's a sidereal day. A solar day is
Yeah.
how much time it takes for the sun to peak in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a
On
second
average.
is
Yeah.
a second is defined by 9 billion some oscillations of a cesium atom, but that's only at rest and at 0 degrees. Because if you compare a cesium atom not at rest to one at rest, it'll be different. If you compare a hotter or colder cesium atom, they will also be different. So a cesium clock isn't always perfect because you can't always have perfect, exactly consistent conditions.
Yeah, and a solar day is going to use those units of time plus or minus. So, I mean, this guy's just completely off base here.
Well,
Okay,
yeah, you
so
can
again,
like shoehorn the oscillation definition into a measurable solar day. It's not going to be perfectly 1/8000th or whatever the number is, but it's going to be close.
we can end this point. Just to be clear, the standard unit of a second is what it is. Can we agree on that? No, we can't agree on that,
Well,
really?
yeah, right now the
The
standard
standard unit of a second is what it
is 9 billion something.
Yes, 9 billion, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, we've been agreeing with that.
Okay, cool. Can Yahweh say that, though? Can you agree with that?
Is Yahweh
Yeah,
here?
You
a
agree with that,
second
Yahweh?
a second is the measurement of a cesium atom oscillating to the corresponding 86,400 400 passings of a sun recorded degree. Like, bro, you're not gonna corner me into that one, bro.
I'm not cornering you into
no matter how
anything.
you
You're
define a
just
second,
wrong. It's just
no
you
matter how
don't
you
know what
define
a
a
standard
second,
second is. That's fine.
it's a man-contrived, arbitrary definition. Anyway,
Exactly.
Well, again, you can use the speed of light if you want, which is
it's the
constant.
same thing.
It's not the same thing.
No matter how you define it, there is no such thing as a second, right? In reality,
Okay. Again, no one agrees
what's a
with you guys
second?
on this, but that's fine. Like this guy.
Yahweh, what about a rotation of Earth as opposed to the sun?
Well, rotation of Earth is calculated by the passing of the sun. I mean, that's how they come up with the idea of the rotation of the Earth.
How about just saying from solar noon to solar noon? That's a better way to say it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Besides, like, besides sunrise, sunset, high noon, you can go to like midday type things and afternoon type things. But what to call that becomes arbitrary. Like I said, when you put a sundial down, the division of the circle, like whatever, like if someone doesn't know degrees, how would they divide the circle? Like how would they divide the passing of that line of the
It's not
sun
even using
moving
sundials. It's the
on that
position of the sun in the sky. It wasn't even using sundials.
circle?
The most
Again,
fundamental unit of time is the sun being above us and then 24 hours later being above us again. How we divide that, is completely arbitrary, but that's the
So
most fundamental unit of
if I
time.
look up, sure, if I look up
and
the
the
standard unit of time, if I look at the
24 hours, the
That's not
24
true.
hours comes from the division of degrees on
That's
the
not.
circle of the sundial.
That's not true. The day and the night was established before the sun and the moon was even created.
True.
That's like,
No,
what do you
it
mean? Are
was
you referring
not.
to the Bible? No, come on.
It was
So
not in the
Yeah,
Bible.
no, I'm referring to reality. That's the most accurate source of historical context that we have. You can try to
No,
be the single person that refutes it and debunks it, but good luck. It's
Just to
been
be clear, are
done.
you referring to Genesis right now in this
yeah,
conversation?
Yeah,
Moses.
basically,
1,000%.
Oh,
he's
okay.
trolling,
Moses
guys.
was having
That's
Moses was having a vision for 6 days atop the mount, and he was called out of that in a cloud, and he was called out on the seventh day, and that's recorded in the Exodus 24th chapter at the end,
True.
like the last 10 verses. And what he is writing in the first book of Moses, which is called Genesis, in the first chapter, he's recording what he saw for 6 days. That's why he's talking about the evening and the morning were the first day of his vision, second day of his vision, third day of his vision, and it wasn't until the fourth day of his vision was there a sun placed in the sky to separate night and day. So
If he was
That's
having a vision, how could
that's
he
very
determine how many
interesting.
passes? If he was having a vision, how could he determine how many passings of the sun in real life
Okay,
were occurring?
TwoOcna, take 5 real quick.
Got it.
What were you saying, Matthew?
Yahweh is king. I've never heard that interpretation, but I kind of like it. That's interesting.
Wait, can I get an answer to the question I asked? If he's having a vision, how could he determine how many rotations, like how many times the Earth span, how many days there was in like real
Because
life?
during his vision, he could tell if it was day or night.
Yep.
Okay. So
Well,
he's
the
having like a
Earth
half vision.
didn't spin or anything, and you can find that with later context in what is it, Joshua, where the sun stopped moving and the moon, not the
True.
Earth. It didn't say the Earth did, it
True.
said the sun and the moon. So Earth stationary.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
So, Fresh, what is a day to you? If it has nothing to do with the sun, since the
A
sun
day
wasn't
is
created
the
before.
daytime when there's light, when it's light out from dusk to dawn or dawn to dusk.
So,
Yeah.
what does a 24-hour day mean? Like, what is that
There's
phrase?
Oh,
no night,
that's not
obviously.
that's like 24-hour day is the concept we as men came up with. But
No,
I base my interpretations of stuff off literal scripture.
You
So I just go off of the day was the light separated from the darkness, and then later on the sun was added. So I just look at it as dawn to dusk.
what about? I think Matthew means like 24-hour, like the sun's above the horizon. No, like so it's daylight basically
Oh,
all the
are we
time.
done with
No,
the
I was
flat Earth
asking
stuff?
about.
Because
There's
I
several
don't.
different definitions of day. Day means like either when it's light outside, or it can mean like 24 hours, or it can mean like back in the day. Back in the day when Reagan was president, this would have never happened. So there's different
Right.
definitions of day. That's why I was just asking.
Yeah, no, I just personally see mine as from dawn to dusk, from light to light, or light
yep.
to no light.
Rebel, since you're back, you want to do the evolution thing or still no? Just out of curiosity.
You
No, I
know
don't.
who?
Okay.
I know who's up for a debate. She's looking for people to debate. Her name is Taylor. If you want, maybe we can put you guys in some sort of agreement and debate here. If you want.
Good point.
Yep, good point.
Debate what exactly? It's going to be really boring to hear about what a second is.
Oh, I would debate evolution, but I know you guys don't know enough about it to do that.
There's definitely a
How do
lot
you
of
know the
people here
people
that
here?
would.
You just came in here, right? You're a new guy and you're making all these accusations. What's up, bro?
Obviously,
So, does
bro.
anyone here know enough about it to discuss it?
Well, why don't you just ask instead of just throwing out accusations?
Yeah, making an ass out of you and me and everyone. Because when you
Cool.
assume, that's what you do.
Okay. So, does anyone here know enough about it to discuss it?
About what?
Okay.
What's the
Evolution?
question?
Yeah, what do you
Yeah.
know about evolution?
Where's
I'll discuss it
Taylor?
with you. What do you know
Let's get
about evolution?
let's get Taylor on it. You want to debate a girl?
Yeah.
I thought if someone wants to come up,
What
they
do you
can
know
come up.
about? What do you want to discuss about evolution? Let's hear it.
What do you think it is?
Am I not coming in? Mic check.
Yeah. What do you think it is?
Why don't you tell us what it is? You're the one who
Sure.
brought it up.
Change in allele frequency.
We don't know what that means.
Okay.
What the fuck
That's
does
not
that
my
mean?
problem.
Yeah, can you expand
No, it
on
is.
that, please? Can you
Yeah,
No,
expand
I
on that a
said if
little
you
bit?
guys don't know enough to discuss it, I'll wait for someone who does.
dog, that doesn't mean anything to us. What does that mean?
Okay. That's fine if it doesn't mean it. That's why I said I'd wait for someone who
Are
does know about it.
are you saying because they didn't know one thing, you won't discuss it?
If they don't know what evolution is, then I can't discuss
Buddy,
evolution. It's kind of
but bro,
difficult.
bro, it's a completely normal thing if you define something in like this very short, concise way that's like seems vague and ambiguous. It's totally normal for people to ask you, "What do you mean by that?" To elaborate on it. Okay, that's
Sure. So
He
totally
didn't
what
know
normal.
what a
what
solar and
sure.
sidereal day was a second ago, but he's
Sure.
able to do
So
this. And
yeah, just to be clear, what word in change in allele frequency don't you understand?
Okay, listen, dude, if you want to talk about
Entire
evolution, bring
concept.
up talking about evolution. Don't try to quiz
I did.
people. So if you want to talk about evolution, bring it
Yeah.
up, start talking about it. Don't
Yes.
say, do you know
Evolution
this?
evolution is change in allele frequency.
Which means
Okay,
what? Like what?
No, I reject that definition. Nobody uses
Okay.
that.
That's okay.
Wait,
What
who's that,
does
Matthew?
that mean, TwoOcna?
So what word in that don't you understand?
What does the phrase mean? What does it mean?
The
I know,
word.
like to not understand a phrase, normally people don't know a word in it. What word in that don't you know?
Listen,
Matthew.
buddy. Hold on. Let me do some modding here. Hold on. Welcome to the server. But
Hmm?
if you're going to continue in this antagonizing kind of a thing, it's not going to work. So if you want to have a good conversation with anybody here, respect and don't do what you're doing. Okay? Please.
I said I would wait for someone who does know about evolution to talk. I'll wait.
Respectfully and humbly, something I've personally learned over the past, like, I don't know, it's been about maybe 3 to 4 years or so in this server. If you take the time and just kind of listen, and because obviously the entire server isn't going to be in the live stream when you're in there. So you're not always going to get that interaction that you want, but I can guarantee after that long of being in here that this is like one of the most educated rooms you'll find on the internet. You're going to find tons of people that have very intricate knowledge on tons of very intricate, topics. So just don't come in too hot swinging for the fences because you might, get sent back to the benches.
Sure. So do like it's for someone who was asking, I get a said I can wait, or we can like go through it one by one. Which one do we want to wait or do we want to go through it?
No one
Well, I'm
is going
curious.
to agree with your definition of evolution, is what I'm proposing. So
Okay.
we could use a better
Go
definition.
ahead. If you'd like to provide one, go ahead.
Sure, I just did it. 25 past the hour. Evolution is the change in the heritable characteristics of biological populations over successive generations.
Yeah. So heritable characteristics, what are what would you call that? Like how are those determined?
Characteristics that are
Uh,
inherited.
yeah, so they're like phenotypes, right? That's what characteristics are.
All kinds of different characteristics.
Yeah. So like characteristics are like we call those phenotypes, correct? Or maybe we're not using the same words here.
You want to use different synonyms? Okay, but what's wrong with heritable characteristics?
Well, normally when we talk about inheritable characteristics, we call those phenotypes.
I don't. I call them heritable
Uh,
characteristics.
and phenotypes or inheritable characteristics are determined by what?
Alleles in the genetic code.
So if we want to change that, so do you want to rephrase that definition using the word alleles?
No, I don't, because I don't prefer
Okay.
that way. It sounds like you have a
Got it.
very narrow definition that you think that you have to use that specific word, but we could use synonyms, so it's okay.
Yeah. So you want to again, like I said, if you want to reread the definition, and then I'll just explain how I would say that. But yeah.
Sure. Evolution is the change in the heritable characteristics of biological populations over successive generations.
Yeah, again, we're just saying those characteristics, those inheritable characteristics, those are determined by those are phenotypes. Phenotypes are determined by genes, by genotype, and a collection of genes, alleles. So why are definitions different? Can you explain that?
Why is my definition different than your definition?
Yeah. Like what
Because
what
because they
valuable
use similar but different synonyms for characteristics. Characteristics is generally more well understood in the general population.
so what valuable like distinction when referring to evolution do we have between our definitions? So if we're to tell two people these definitions, they're both scientists, what like would they say we're both wrong? Would they say one of us is right, one of us is wrong, or
They
would
were
they
both
say we
right.
have a meaningful distinction? Okay, so saying change in allele frequencies is evolution is absolutely okay to say.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So you believe in the standard model, I would imagine, a single cell, correct or not?
Standard model what? Of what? Sorry.
Luca.
Of your evolution process, where does it start? Where does your evolution process
Evolution
start?
process. So,
Yeah.
well, for evolution to occur, you would have to have a population. So we use population, but it just means an organism or a set of organisms. It's kind of weird to say an individual could be a population, but even then it can be
No,
because
no, no, no.
animals.
Maybe you didn't hear what I said. Where does it start? This
Where does what start?
evolution that you believe in, yes. Where does it start?
Yeah, so it starts with life, any life. You could choose any life.
Where? Where?
Any life. Just literally pick any life.
So you're just you're just making something up. You're
Yes,
supposed to
life
be an
is
expert, right? Does
sure,
your
life is absolutely
evolutionary
right.
process start as a single cell? Yes or no?
No, evolution starts at any life. You could choose any life.
Any
To
life. So
listen,
so
he's
what do you mean
asking.
any life? So I can
So
choose a giraffe? How about
Yeah,
if I
you can
choose
choose
a
a giraffe.
giraffe?
Choose a giraffe. Go ahead. Can you use just to be? I mean, you know what? Giraffe is fine. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So life
So
started with a giraffe, according to you, the expert.
Nope. You just asked me where evolution starts.
he's asking whether you believe in the last universal common ancestor,
Oh,
Luca for
Luca?
short.
Oh,
Have you
Yeah,
he's
heard that
getting it.
term?
Yeah.
yeah. I know what Luca is.
Do you believe that all life is descendant from a single ancestor? That's what he's asking.
Well, it's kind of confusing. So Luca doesn't necessitate a single organism. It just means that there was a single like grouping of organisms that we all came to, right?
Okay, fine. Do you believe that all life descends
Yeah,
from that?
we're all related. All life is related. Yeah.
Okay, so after Luca, what happened?
I don't know what you mean by that.
How did we get here
Well,
from that life form?
yeah. How did we get here from Luca? I'm very interested to hear because you seem to be an expert on this.
Sexual, asexual reproductions, and then changes in alleles based on selection. Well, there wasn't too many selection pressures back when there were just cells, but it was mostly just well, there was because things could still be. It's kind of hard to explain. We'll just say change in allele frequency due to reproduction or cloning, depending on how far you want to go. You can go eukaryotes and archaea, bacteria. All of those they have like different ways of reproducing. And then there was normally you get the copy mistakes. At some point when you get to sexual reproduction, you'll have like crossing over of chromosomes, so that makes a lot of changes too. And then just basically a bunch of changes in alleles, which determine phenotype or it determines gene production. We just call it phenotype because it's what it looks like. So the genes produced gives you certain structures. And then yeah, we.
So you're describing all the effects. The question is, how did what caused those effects? What causes the
Yeah, so
difference in
change
DNA?
in yeah, sure. So that it's caused by copying mistakes.
So mistakes are sufficient to cause new forms of life? That doesn't
So
seem
when you say
reasonable.
mistakes, you're not using mistakes as in something bad. You're using not identical to the thing that was copied, right? So like, let's say there's a movie
Yes,
you
copy
really
mistakes.
like. Yeah, a copy mistake doesn't mean something bad. And also
Okay.
yeah. So also if you take a book and then you copy it and then you put it together, it's still going to be a new book because it's twice the book. Right? It's going to be
So
something
let me
different.
ask you the $64 million question. Does one creature turn into another creature in
Can you be more
your
specific with that?
evolutionary process?
Amen.
Can you be more specific? Like, can you name a creature?
Well, the first one that we named, right, the common ancestor, did that one have to turn into another one, which turned into another one, which and eventually turned into an ape, and eventually turned into us? Do I have to spell it out for you?
Well,
Is
we
that
are
what you
apes,
think
just for
happened?
starters, and I don't know what you mean by another one. Normally, when I talk about this, I use taxonomical terms. So if you want to choose like a domain, a class, a phyla, a genus, you could choose one of those, and then I can answer
No,
your
no, no,
question.
no. Listen. You're not gonna get away with fancy talk over here. I asked you a very simple question, right?
Sure.
Try to listen, right? A very simple question. In order for the evolutionary process to happen, does one creature have to turn into another one? Since we started with a common ancestor, do you understand that question?
No, I want you to be more specific than saying creature. I don't understand the word you're using there.
The first common ancestor, which we agreed on,
The
right,
last
with
universal common
the
ancestor,
other
yeah.
gentleman, right? Okay.
Yeah.
How did that turn into us? Now, don't start
Change in
talking
allele frequency.
fancy. Listen carefully. That means, right, that thing had to turn into another thing,
I don't
and
know.
that had to turn into a fish, and then that fish had to turn into something that crawled on the land. Do I have to be more specific than that?
Yes.
I
I
can
don't
if
know
you
what you
want.
mean by thing. Yeah. Can you use
Did he
some like
say
You
taxonomic
don't
you're
know.
terms?
You
saying
don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by
You
thing.
don't
So
know
can you
what
use some
one
like?
animal means to turn into another animal. You don't
No, I
understand
don't. I
that.
want
Don't
you to be
worry.
more specific. Yeah, I want you to
Do
be
you
he's
more
have
saying
any
specific.
like did it
observational evidence of kind to kind?
I don't know what you mean by kind. Can you be
did
more
a
Oh,
specific
you
or
tetra
don't
define
did
know.
it?
a tetrapoda turn into a mammalia? You know, like did a fucking lizard turn into a
No, all
four-legged
mammals are
milk?
tetrapods.
See, this is
So
where
Oh,
you
your answer
catch
is
him.
no.
This is where you
not
catch him.
All
but
all
not but
mammals are
not everything
tetrapods.
not everything's a mammal, right?
Yep.
So that's what he's asking. Did something else that wasn't what it was turn into
Can you be
another
more
thing?
specific instead of just saying something else?
Let me try.
We know
Let me
what you're
say
doing.
it
No,
specifically
he's
instead of
being
talking about.
evasive on purpose because he
Yeah.
knows. He knows.
So
I'm
to
asking
be
for
specific,
clarification.
yeah, here's
Yes.
clarification. To be specific, there are some kinds of animals that have DNA that codes for certain proteins that other ancestors don't. And so the question is, how does a new protein get encoded, given the fact that the domain space of viable proteins is very, very vast, and so simple copying mistakes could never, even in principle, code for new types of proteins. So
So
where do new
proteins are
proteins
produced.
come from?
Proteins are produced by chemical reactions of a sequence of like DNA, and DNA in normally sexual reproduction. Um, it's like sex cells split, and then you have it's like you have like your male, and there's actual terms for it. I'm just forgetting. It's like the big O, small o. But you have your male sex cells and your female sex cells. And then once they combine, they make like a blastocyte. But basically, what happens is that the DNA, you wouldn't say it combines, but they're just in the same cell, and then they have chemical reactions. That's basically how you get your DNA. But what can happen is when the sex cells individually are duplicating, they can have like copying mistakes. So this is how we get this is how like you look different from your parents because you're not cloned exactly from your parents. And then you get again like crossing over. So that's another way. So that's not a copying mistake. That's just what happens when they like join together. And then there are a bunch of other things. So we have you have things called epigenetics, which is genetics
What do you mean
influenced
by
by.
things?
What do you mean?
Can you be more specific?
Oh yeah, so the
instead of saying
process,
things.
sure. So the process of like the chemical reactions of proteins being produced. So there are different ways that these can happen. So we have
What do you
epigenetics.
mean by proteins?
Again, if you don't know what that is, I can't explain all of that to you right now.
Where are you
So,
guys going down this road and getting off the train? The thing
oh
that I
sure, we
asked,
can,
because
yeah, sure, we
he's
can go
avoiding
back.
the question, and you guys are helping him avoid the question. I just
Sure,
want that question answered, and then I'll go on mute.
If
absolutely. What
he's
question do
Does
you?
still
one
answering that
does
question,
one creature turn into another? Yes or no?
Can you be more specific what you mean by the two
You
creatures?
know exactly what I mean. It was explained to you. We started off with a single cell, right?
Yes.
Now that cell had to become something else, and then that had to become something else, and that had to become a fish, and then your story says the first creature crawled out of the water. I'm sure you're familiar with your own evolutionary thing, right? So I put it to you: did one creature have to turn into another creature since we all started from a common cell? Yes or no?
So again, in evolution, we don't use the term creature. We actually have taxonomic names for these things. If you would like to
I don't
refer to
care
them,
what name.
feel
Call
free.
it Charlie, Jim, Bob, or Joe. It doesn't matter.
Essie,
Does
he's not
one
gonna
of
So
them
answer.
yeah,
turn into another?
choose any taxonomical, anything you want.
Essie, he's not gonna answer.
he
I
won't.
know
I
he's
just
not.
want for
Well,
clarification.
then it's evident, right, that this is where their evolutionary theory dies, and they try to play games, tricks, and they try to use fancy terms, right? But when you get
Taxonomy
down
was
to the nitty
actually
gritty,
created before
this
evolution.
is where, please don't interrupt me. I'm almost done. This is where their theory dies, because if they can't admit one creature turns into another, they have nothing. It ends right here.
So if you can't clarify, again, I don't need to answer your question. If you don't want to clarify your own question, that's okay.
Look it up,
Taxonomy
Google it,
was created.
like you
Sure.
tell other
Well,
people.
again, I told you, evolution doesn't use creature as a term. We actually have taxonomic names for them, which were created before evolution. So if you would like to use those taxonomic names, I would love to answer your question. But if you don't want to clarify what creature is, that's okay.
SC, do you mean a species turning into another species?
Correct. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
speciation. Yeah, so speciation, there's two kinds of speciation. We have genetic speciation, and then we have taxonomic speciation. To my understanding, every time there's genetic speciation, we have taxonomic speciation. So every time there is a prevention of a child interbreeding with a parent or being able to for genetic reasons, we give a new name. So a great example of this would be something like I don't. Our most recent ancestor, I think, was Homo heidelbergensis. If they still existed right now, we wouldn't be able to reproduce with them because of genetic reasons. But dogs are under the subspecies of Canis lupus, so they still technically can genetically interbreed with them. It's just that there are other things preventing it. So, like the size of a dog is way too big for the size of a wolf, or sorry, the size of a
So were
wolf is way
dogs
too big
always
for.
dogs?
So there's
Were dogs
So
always
again,
dogs?
so
Before you
dog.
go on
So
and on and
again,
on and on, bro.
sure,
Were
I'm not
dogs
going on
always
and on and
dogs?
on. Dog, again, isn't a taxonomic term. If you would like to use Canis lupus, I would love to answer that. If you don't want to use Canis lupus, that's okay.
Oh
so
my
you said
God, bro.
something
Okay,
was
Canis lupus. Was a
That's
Canis lupus always a Canis lupus?
Yeah, so Canis lupus is always Canis lupus. Yeah. You'll never
So how?
change your.
So okay, fine. So you mean so? In other words, you're saying every creature that we have now has always been the same creature, always from the beginning of
Again,
time. Is that
creature
what
isn't a
you're telling
term.
the audience here? Yes.
No.
hey,
So
hey,
creature isn't again a taxonomic term. You never leave your domain, your kingdom, your phylum, your class, your genus. And this is actually called cladistics. We have a term for it. You have cladistic taxonomy. So we have these nested hierarchies where you always are what your parent are. You'll never leave your domain, your kingdom, your phylum, your class, your genus, your family. Did I already say?
or
So yeah,
kind.
Right. So
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 how
kind
all
was
isn't a
the
so like what
taxonomic
I
first
type.
said,
I
right?
apologize.
Canis lupus
So
created?
Hmm?
Hmm?
How was the first Canis lupus created?
When was it first created?
Yeah.
How?
And what was it
How?
When
created
was it
from?
first created? So
Yeah,
there's
when
no.
and what was it created from?
Yeah, so again, we just give these things names. When you say it was first created, I don't know when the first genetic speciation was, but we just always, there was no point, like all the extant species, meaning all the species that are alive today, compared to all the extinct species. So Canis lupus, I'm assuming its ancestors is an extinct species, so it wasn't alive. So what we just did was we gave a name to the, you could say to the bones, kind of sounds stupid, but we just gave a name to the ancestor, and then we just have the extant species, gray wolves that are alive today, we give them the name Canis lupus.
So you
you're
just
Okay,
made
saying
stuff up. So in other words, what I said was correct. Every creature, by your own admission, has never evolved. It's always been a Canis lupus, or a
Yeah.
cat,
Again,
or
we
a
have genetic.
spider. Correct? Am I correct in
Nope.
that?
No, because
Yeah, you
again,
are.
those aren't
The poor kid
taxonomic
thinks
names. Yeah.
adaptation is
So,
evolution.
sure. So again,
Hey,
we don't use those
that's
terms. Those aren't taxonomic names. If you would like to use taxonomic names, please feel free to.
I don't care.
But
Use
again, we
whatever
have.
name you want,
excuse me.
buddy. Use
Sure,
whatever
yeah.
name you want.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Use some
excuse me.
taxonomic names, and I'd love to answer your question.
That's
Oh, I thought we
that's
weren't
a
interrupting each
very
other. I
So was a
apologize.
spider always a spider?
Again, that is not a taxonomic name. So if you would like to use
Okay,
one,
what
feel
is it then? Give us the taxonomic name,
excuse me.
please.
You
May
said
I
you
speak?
asked the
May I
question.
interject?
He's gonna
Oh,
run as hard as he can.
no,
Hey,
you can just
may
Just
look
go
up
ahead
a
and learn a
taxonomic
different
creature.
language before, and then we'll talk about it.
No, well,
may
no,
I
he can say
interject?
the word things, and it's okay, and that's why I did my facetious interjection of it. But when we say things, he wants to interject and be a dork about it and say,
If you
be
want
more
to use
descriptive.
evolutionary terms, use evolutionary terms. If you don't want
The
to use
No,
greatest
but we
evolutionary
things
can
in
use his
evolutionary
language. It's not
terms.
a problem, and I can still prove him incorrect, right?
yeah, go ahead.
Like, give us the
I
name of the spider, please. Go ahead.
You're the one asking the question.
Just pick
I
Yeah,
don't know
anything.
this
what
is
your
Pick
my
any
question was to
question.
animal.
ask.
Was a spider always a spider,
That is not a
or did it
taxonomic
evolve
name.
from something else? That's
Pick any
pretty clear cut. Now,
taxonomical
if you want to
name.
correct me on the name, please feel free.
I don't want to correct your question. I don't want to assume what you're saying. If
Look,
you want to look up
look.
the name for any
Hey,
why don't you
spider, like,
give us your best guess of what he's saying instead of being a dickhead?
Yeah,
yes,
I'm
or
not.
you
He
know.
doesn't want to clarify
instead
his
of
This is
question.
like
asking
being
us, instead of just asking us to clarify, why don't, since you are defending evolution, present your case that you have? Show us what you think is going to answer the questions that you think that we're asking right now. Show us
Well,
one
if you
species going, it doesn't matter whatever taxonomical name it is, whatever you want to call it. Show us one thing changing to another thing, whatever name it is you want. We're leaving it open for you so you have room to dance around in there. Just provide your evidence.
So, if we want to go from one species to another species, genetic speciation, this just happens all the time with, fruit flies. I did it when I was in high school. Bacteria is another one. Antibiotics, we all know this one. There are viruses and all of that. So viruses actually aren't technically considered life because they can't reproduce on their own. But yeah, so we could go with do we want to go with bacteria,
No,
antibiotics?
it's
Do we
not
want
we,
to go?
it's you.
Wait,
We're
wait,
asking you.
wait. Let me ask
Just
you a question.
present
Sure.
it. Show it to
So
us.
Wait, guys,
sure, I
hold
could send you an
on.
article of fruit
Akna,
fly speciation if you would like.
Shut up. Let me ask you a question. Hold on.
Huh?
Akna, did elephants always exist on Earth, or was there a point of time where they came into existence?
Would you like to be more specific and use a taxonomic name, or are you
Jeez.
just going to say
No,
elephant?
no, no, no. You know
That
exactly
is
what
just
Taxonomical name.
like
He's
an
that
gonna
is an
be
absolutely
Elephant
at
isn't a
proud
taxonomical
stance.
name.
African elephant. Okay, whatever the taxonomical name is. Okay, um, did that species of animal did it always exist eternally, or was there a point of time in the history of the Earth of where it came into existence?
You wanted me to look it up, so I'll look it up for you.
He
Elephant,
already
scientific name.
said.
Are you saying it's
So,
possible that the African elephant could have existed eternally?
no. So elephant head. It's apparently elephantidae, to my knowledge. Or wait, sorry.
yeah, Google that real
Yeah,
quick.
Excellent.
elephantidae. Yeah, so elephantidae.
Yeah.
It's so strange. I've never.
Animalia, was it Chordata, what Mamma Amelia?
Oh,
Dude,
okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm wrong. So that's what I thought.
Elephantida.
So Loxod, so that's it didn't have a name like a genus and a species name, which it usually does. So Loxodonta, which is the African elephant of the genus Loxodonta, comprising of two living elephant species, the African bush elephant and the smaller African forest elephant. So which do you want? Smaller African forest elephant or the African bush elephant? Either?
um, does
Neither
yeah,
of them existed forever. Yeah.
doesn't matter. Akna,
Yeah.
dude, are you saying like we have to know these like the Latin scientific taxonomical terms in order to talk about evolution? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If you want to talk about animals changing, yes.
Wait,
That is
what's the
an
argument?
absolutely
Dude,
proud
dude,
stance.
what is the
Okay.
no?
That is an
What
absolutely
is the
proud
argument that
stance.
what is the argument that requires that a person needs to know all the specific Latin
You don't need to know all
taxonomical
of
terms
them.
in order to talk about evolution? Give me the argument for that.
I wouldn't give you an argument for that.
Okay,
All
so
right,
therefore,
guys,
it's not necessary, is it, dumbass?
guys, he's
No,
a
I said you
troll.
should.
He's
I
a
said you should know.
proud
Oh,
troll.
Hold
He's
on,
not
guys.
a.
Hold on.
He's
No, no,
19.
let's not attack too. I understand where you guys are coming from, but can I ask you one serious question too, if that's okay?
Who's asking?
And
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
thank you. I understand you believe that you presented your understanding of evolution. I have just one question. Do you believe in any other forms of evolution, such as what has been proposed as stellar evolution, chemical evolution?
I've never heard of those. I can look at them really quickly.
Oh,
So
okay, no problem.
evolution.
And thanks, guys. You guys
So
feel free
evolution is the
to
process
ask
in
more
which the force of the
questions.
pressure of gravity
No,
alter the star.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
hold
So
we're
yeah,
not gonna
so
run. Yeah, Auckland, we're not gonna let you run. So, okay,
don't ask
so
me a question.
now that you have admitted it is not necessary to know the Latin terms of these animals by their taxonomy to speak about evolution. It's just your arbitrary preference. Okay, nobody cares about your opinion. Now that you've admitted
So
it,
why
that
are you
is not
asking me a
that.
question if you don't care about my opinion?
Now answer my question. Did the African elephant, right, the typical big one that you see in like some African safari somewhere, right, with tusks and like the big old trunk, right? Did that always exist eternally, or was there a point in time of which it came to exist?
Yeah, so the Loxodonta africana did not always exist.
Oh, good. So okay, now here's the $1 million question. Now tell us. Give us all as specific as you can. Give us all the processes that led to the first origin of the existence of the African elephant, starting from the most primordial life form that we know, as the theory of evolution proposes, which is some single-celled, unicellular eukaryote.
You don't even have to go
So
that
there
far
was
with
this,
him. You can
yeah,
ask
sure.
him to prove his last claim. He said that didn't always exist. How do you know that? Prove that.
Well, let's grant it to him. Hold on. I I just want to see where he goes with this. Tell me if the African elephant did not always exist. Like let's this is the internal critique. So let's grant him that for the time being. We can visit that later. If it didn't always exist, okay, that means we can deduce. I mean, by your own admission already, that there must have been a point in time at which it came to exist. Good. So now tell us, give us all the processes that led up to the origin of the African elephant
Yeah, sure. So the
from
same of all life. Oh, okay, I thought you were
from
done.
the most primordial life form that evolution proposed to be, which is a unicellular eukaryote.
Sure. So I can explain it very simply, and you're not going to like it. There were chemical reactions. So when genes. Oh, sorry. I thought you wanted me to answer. Did you want me to answer, or did you want to say something more?
No, I just said this is the part where you start making shit up. So go ahead.
Well, I don't. So when genes duplicate, these are chemical reactions. We know this. There could be mistakes, and when those mistakes occur, they can prevent, sexual reproduction. And when that occurs, a parent can't interbreed with a kid. So that is what evolution is: change in allele frequencies. There are changes in alleles. These changes in alleles result in kids not being able to interbreed with a parent. Genetic speciation.
Wow. Did you remember the part where I told you to be as specific as possible?
That is
Do you remember?
literally what evolution is.
Just a paper. Just a
Dude,
paper written on it, no evidence.
Oh, you want evidence of genetic speciation? I was going to give it to you, and then I got asked like 30
That's what
questions.
we asked for about it
oh,
almost
Yeah,
fucking an hour
yeah.
ago,
So
and you've been
genetic
playing coy the
speciation.
whole time.
So genetic speciation examples I said with fruit flies. I mean, I did it in my science class. Uh, so we can. I know you won't accept that. Is
no,
there a specific
no,
citation you want? Is the National
no,
Institute of Health
dude,
good enough, or
Just
no?
documentation. I don't care about a paper being written. Just
dude.
show it.
Akna, you still have yet to demonstrate. You still have failed to get me from a primordial life form, a unicellular eukaryote, to an elephant. You haven't told me all the transitional life forms that it took to get to the modern day elephant. You still have failed to do that. I'm waiting,
You asked for the process. What caused it? I told you
dude.
what caused it.
Yeah, yeah. The
You want me to
process.
tell you all the intermediate life forms? I don't
Okay,
know
go.
them.
Then
You were there when that happened? You guys documented that?
No, we just know that's what reproducing is.
How do you know that?
Yeah. So do you know what paternity tests are?
So the paternity test
So do
told you
you
that an
know what
elephant didn't
paternity
always
tests
exist?
are?
A paternity test told you that elephants didn't always exist?
Dude, we agree that they exist, paternity tests, right? And they work?
Not all the time.
That's actually true.
Some of them do. That's why most women take multiples.
Okay. Again, Okna.
Okay, so
But you wouldn't know that.
just,
Yeah, you've
okay.
never even had children or dealt with one of those. So
Okay, so again, we can reject that paternity test work if you really want to, or you could say they
no,
work.
we just want to see your documentation to quit obfuscating
So,
around the main
yeah,
point.
really easy. So
Like they
we
were asking
know.
you earlier. Do you have any documentation that we can see? I don't want to see a paper written on a topic. We would like to see documentation, evidence of your speciation change.
Sure.
Do you have that?
Sure. So genetic
You gonna
speciation,
show
I'll
me a
send you an article
caterpillar
right
turning
now.
to a butterfly?
So again, that's not very specific. If you want to use taxonomic names, feel free to. I can
Okay.
send you evidence of
No,
genetic
you can use
speciation.
whatever
Wait, what do you
taxonomical
mean
names you
feel
want.
free to? What do you mean feel free to? You're basically saying that he doesn't have to.
Right.
Yeah, I just won't
That's
answer if he doesn't
ridiculous.
do it. That's like if
TwoOcna,
he.
you are. I just need to say this. You're ridiculous. You're proud. You need to look at your buddy Alex O'Connor. He is a respectable man. You are not. You're proud.
He read
Why would
one
I?
book
Why would
and
I
now he's
care if you
gassed up.
think?
Control.
Do you
Why would?
have proof of a species, genus, family, order, class birthing a different kind of species, genus, family, order, class?
You could say a different species, yes, but those other ones, no.
You have proof of a species birthing another species.
Yeah. So when we say species, you're referring to taxonomic speciation, but when you birth something, that's genetic speciation. Do you
So
want
you're
an
gonna put
example of taxonomic
And then
speciation or
once
genetic
it's birthed, then
speciation?
it gets to taxonomical speciation, right? If it's
What did you say?
different,
Again, one person at a time. Say that
after the
again.
genetic
or
speciation process that you said, and
Yes.
now something different comes from that. Can you show us that?
You
Because
just give it a different.
you have a term for the change. Now, can you show us the evidence for the change? That's what we're
Yeah,
looking for.
that's what we're
yeah,
asking for,
I'm
yeah.
sending you one
Yeah.
right now. Genetic and ecological speciation. I will send it in the chat. There you go. You can read over that. It goes over stickleback fish.
Which
The old stickleback. Jeez, how many times have we heard about this fish in here? He thinks he's onto something, guys. This is great. When the kids read
Cool.
one book and they think they know what the world is, it's so cute.
So you asked for evidence. I gave you evidence. There's evidence of genetic
Where is
speciation.
it? I don't see anything.
Taxonomics. I sent it in the
it's in
live stream
the
chat.
In the other chat.
Yeah. So, and if you want evidence of
It's a
taxonomic
book. It's a
speciation,
paper. There's no evidence or nothing.
wow, you have to read.
It's a paper. Yeah, it's a paper. There's no documented evidence of anything. It's a
So,
paper
do you
written.
want to go over a paternity test? Something you could do right now to
I
prove
just
it?
want to see evidence. I don't want to see a
Yes.
paper written on
So, if you want to
theoretics of
go out
how
and
something could potentially work.
sure, if you want to go out and take a paternity test, right?
No,
You could
I'm
get
good.
someone
I'm a
else's
male.
DNA.
I don't think that's going to work. I don't think it's going to. I don't think
I
I'll find
think
any variation in the results if I do that.
You don't think you could tell the relatedness between two people just because you're a male?
yeah,
If I
but
go
can
take
you
a paternity test, what's going to be the results of it?
So you have someone's DNA, and then you have someone else's DNA, and it will say if you're the father. It's not a pregnancy test, buddy.
What's going to be? Yeah, there's no variation whatsoever.
Really, there's going to be no variation of DNA between you and someone else?
For me, are you going to find something other than a human? Why are you running from the conversation?
What do you think a paternity test is? Can we be super clear about this? Because I think we're talking past each other.
Dude, Okna, nobody cares about freaking like who's your father or like home or whatever. Okay.
You
Right?
asked
Yeah.
me. You asked me for evidence, and I gave you an article, and then you said that's a reading. So I'm giving you a
Yeah,
physical
and I
example.
told you before you even sent that I don't want to see a paper on anything.
Okay, so
We
go
would
out
like to
and
see evidence of the claims,
okay,
not
so
papers written on. And
go
then you
out,
told me
find.
to go take a paternity test
Sure, yes.
so I can
Go
tell
out,
you the
yes.
makeup composition of what my dad
Sure.
and mom are, because
No, you don't even need that. Go out.
that's gonna be evidence of humans birthing something that aren't humans, right?
Okay, go out, get a friend to spit on a swab for you, and then put that in a folder or an envelope, and then you spit on a swab, put that in an envelope, go out, give that to a lab, have them run a paternity test. Do you think it's going to say that your friend is your father or is not your father?
I guess we
Does
won't
that
know.
have anything to do with the topic that you were asked
Well, it
about?
absolutely does because you
It
and your
does.
friend.
Okay,
It does.
so
Yeah,
my
I'll explain it
friend
right now.
isn't
Well, I
my
could explain it
father,
right now.
therefore
Yes.
humans can birth something other than humans. Is
Nope.
that what you're saying?
You and your friend don't share
Okay.
the genes required for him to be your father, and we can
Oh, but
tell
we're
that.
still both humans, right?
You're
We're
still
we're
related, yes.
yeah. We're
Yeah,
still both
all life is
yeah.
related.
Because there's
Yeah.
no evolutionary change, right?
Nope.
Exactly. Welcome to no evolution, brother. That was pretty quick. I thought it was
Yeah,
going to
I
be a
said
lot
nope
longer,
to
but that
your
was pretty
comment.
quick.
Yeah, I said nope to your comment.
You just proved
Do
our
you
argument
think
for
wait,
it.
just out of curiosity, do you think if you have a kid, your kid has the same DNA as you?
Jesus Christ.
Do you think if you have a kid, your kid has the same DNA as you?
I know that my kid is not a isn't not a human.
Okay, but they have different DNA than you, right?
No, that does not matter in the
So
conversation
they
that
had
we're
a
having.
change in
We're not talking
alleles,
that doesn't
a
it doesn't
frequency of
matter. It's not a change
alleles.
from kind to kind. I didn't birth my wife didn't birth a horse.
I mean, if you want to go by taxonomy, technically she birthed the
No,
fish.
I mean, yeah, if you want to be technical.
Yeah, if you want to use, evolutionary terms, what a
Or
shame.
you could just be vague about it and just provide any evidence.
Yeah,
But
just
since
say
you
like
don't have
creature.
any,
Just say creature. That could be. You could be vague
Oh,
like that.
you're still running, dude.
we
I'm
Ocna,
not
tried.
running.
I know
So
he is. We
yeah,
said creature, we said thing, we said species, we said kind, we
yeah.
said
Just say the
phylum.
name.
We said all these different words, but you're gonna run because you don't have that evidence.
Sure.
okay.
So, do you want to take a
You're
paternity test, or do you want me to explain how they work as evidence?
dude, you're stuck on this one. All right. Well, it was fun.
It was fun. No,
Yeah.
anyone who denies evolution, they'll never ever respond to this point,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's
You're
always
gonna do well in life, brother.
yes.
Congratulations to you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Yeah.
Ocna,
So,
Remember,
does
one
anyone want to go
question
down the?
ended
Does,
this. Remember,
yeah,
one
wait,
question ended.
just really quick, super quick. Does anyone want me to explain how paternity tests work and how they're proof for evolution, or does nobody want that?
No, not really.
maybe
Okay, no
Not
one
me
wants.
anyway.
So no one
I'd
wants to prove
rather
evolution.
I'd rather you
Got it.
I'm
repeat the
I'm
conclusions of the
opening
paper
to
you posted.
listening.
Who's opening to
I'm
listening?
open to listening to it.
Yeah. So we know that when a parent has a kid, that the parent and kid share DNA, correct? Can we all agree on this?
where's the paper?
They share common DNA.
Well, they don't share like literally the same molecules, but the structure
Yeah,
of the DNA would be the same.
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and then we can actually test how similar structures of the DNA are. This is how paternity tests work. So you'll see the variants, and depending on, I think they're called loci, the amount of loci you share will tell you how closely related you are to someone. Obviously, you share the closest relationship to immediate family, so that's parents and siblings, and then the more you branch out, grandparents and cousins, and then the more you branch out, great grandparents and second degree cousins, right? You'll share less and less DNA. Can we agree on that?
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, and we know the only way to to be related or to share DNA is to have a common ancestor, right? So the only reason you share DNA with your first degree cousin is because you share grandparents, and the only reason you share DNA with your brother is because you share parents, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so it's just the same thing. We share DNA with other animals, so we know we have to have a common ancestor.
So
Like
I just need to
Neanderthals?
clarify something.
So we have
Can I
common DNA with Neanderthals? Is that what you're telling us?
Wait,
Yeah,
no,
can
we
I
he's
share
saying
common
clarify
blood.
DNA
something?
with
He's saying
all. We
blood
share.
equals
We
evolution,
share.
bro.
No, we
Can
share.
I
It's that
clarify
simple.
something?
So really quickly, we
I
share
just
DNA with
Can I
all
get in?
extant species. So all currently living things we share DNA with. So we know all currently living things are related.
okay. So I
So I
just
just
need to
want to say,
clarify something.
Yes.
I just
go
need to
ahead.
clarify something.
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm seeing is that you're saying it can be an indication that we're related
No, it's a
to
definition.
other species, but how is it a proof exactly? Just because we have
Sure.
some shared DNA, does that necessarily prove that
Yeah,
we are
it does.
related to those other species?
Yeah, for two reasons. So even before all of our fancy technology now, Darwin predicted a unit of heredity. He was wrong on what it was. He thought it was like some weird black like loop floating thing. So if you want to go tell people Darwin was wrong, you could tell him he was wrong on the unit of heredity. Very thankfully now we do have all these DNA tests, these fancy things, and we know the unit of heredity is a gene. And we know the only way to share genes is to have a common ancestry because the only way for genes to be passed down is to be, birthed. right? That's
Wait,
the only way to
how
prove
though?
genes.
Can God make two species with similar genes
You
without
would have to.
having
Now
without
you're making
having
a positive
passed
claim, and you would
down?
have to prove that. So if you could
Wait,
prove that, then
yes,
I'll
yes,
listen.
that is a whole nother topic. But let's
Yeah,
say God did exist.
I'm not going to grant you
He
that.
could make two species with similar genes without them having to be related to each other, like by a process like
No,
that.
I don't agree with that. You'd have to prove that, and I
Well,
disagree.
yeah, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm saying yours is not a proof either. You're
It is a
saying that
proof.
is proof. That
Yeah.
is proof that they are related in that way. It's not proof because it could be either.
No, it couldn't be because the only way, unless you have another way and can prove it, the only way to share genes is to be the offspring of something.
I'll get
Yeah,
into
Okay,
this.
God,
I think
let's
God.
move back. Let's move past
And does someone
speciation.
want to make a positive claim about God giving us our genes or no?
Yes.
We
can I
don't
Okay,
hear?
need to
so
turn
what's
this.
your proof
No,
for
no,
that?
no.
That God gave us our
Mic
genes?
check. Can I get
What is your
hello?
proof that God does
Mic
not
check.
exist and could
So
not give those genes?
I don't need to prove a negative claim. My proof for
Yes,
sharing genes necessitating relatedness
you're
is because
making a claim that
all
God
is
does not
because
exist, and so therefore it has to be
no, I
what
didn't say
you
God did
are
not
saying.
exist. I didn't say
No,
God
Show
did
us
no
not exist.
offense.
evolution. Show
I
us
didn't say
evolution
that. Sure.
creating information for the genes to know what to create.
So I'll respond to Michael and then I'll respond to Fresh. I didn't say God didn't exist. I said if you want to make the claim that God gave us similar genes to other animals without us being reproduced by having a common ancestor, you would have to prove that. And until you prove that, I won't believe you.
Can I get
Fresh
in for a
grown.
second?
Wait, but someone else. Okay, if you Fresh, are you okay with that? Because I was going to answer your point, but if you don't,
Yeah, answer him. That's fine.
Yeah, you don't have to answer. I just want to say something for 5 seconds. Okay.
Mhm.
What this guy does, he asks 5 questions, and after you answer them correctly, he'll make a logical leap. So focus on that part where he goes from asking questions to saying, "Oh, okay, you agree with me, so therefore everything I say next is true." I
Yeah,
call it
that's
the squatting dog fallacy. This is his
I call
tactic.
it I call it the
Just
Jesse
because,
path of light
sure. So
tactics.
we could see where we
if
disagree,
I could
and
just
if you
finish,
think
if I could just finish. So, just because the dog poop hits the ground, that doesn't mean that everything this guy says about gravity is automatically true. Just
Mhm.
because you agree with a few true things that he says.
Okay, so let's see. So
Amen.
we do we disagree or agree that evolution is change in allele frequency?
That's what it's sometimes defined
No,
as. We agree.
Disagree.
That's what
no.
it's
So
defined as.
what definition of evolution would you guys like to present?
They're not trying to present evolution. They're
You're
trying to see your claims of how that it even
sure.
exists.
All right, so then if we're not asking for agreement, then I won't ask you questions. So evolution is change in allele frequency, and alleles are a collection of genes, and genes are the molecule DNA, the DNA of molecule, right? The DNA of molecule, the molecule DNA. And then basically the only way for DNA or the structure of DNA to be shared is when it splits and then it is passed on to the next cell, right? So this could be either by asexual reproduction or reproduction, both duplicate or share genes. And this is the only way we know something can get genes because we've never seen it any other way, and there's no reason to believe there's no reason to believe it could be any other way. We can even do
Because we
tests.
have never made
We
a
can even
creature.
do tests. Oh, I'm so sorry. We could even do tests to show relatedness between other creatures because we know the only way to share DNA is to have a common ancestor. We have never
Wait,
seen any other way, and there's no reason to believe it to be any other way because there's no proof of
but
it being any other way. Very
bro,
simple.
but listen,
Yeah.
because we have never made a creature of our own. But if a carpenter makes many different objects that are similar, they don't have to be like related with a bloodline.
Yeah, they aren't
They're
related because they don't
similar
reproduce.
because they have the creator who gives them the same characteristics.
Sure, they may
So
be
I'm not
similar.
saying that it's a proof, but I'm saying there is a possibility that you can't just excuse because of your ego.
Sure, good thing that we're not
That
talking
would
about
be his
similarity.
subconscious
Okay,
Good
yeah,
thing
bias.
we're not
no,
talking about similarity. We're
DNA,
talking about
shared
good
DNA is
thing
a
we're not
similarity.
good thing we're not talking
Shared,
about
shared
similarity. We're
DNA,
talking yeah,
that
so
is
good thing we're not
similarity.
talking about
Oh,
similarity. So good thing we're not talking about similarity.
good
We're talking
thing we're
about
not talking about similarity. Yeah, we got
Shared
so forgive
DNA
yeah.
me.
is
So
similarity.
we're actually talking about relatedness, which is by
Okay.
definition Oh, so can I go, or are we not gonna? Okay,
It's
so
called
with
relatedness because
relatedness. Oh,
it's
I thought I
called
was finished.
relatedness because of the way you look at it.
No, so relatedness is
Okay, but
defined by
it's
the unit of heredity.
similarities.
Yeah,
It's
so
Guys,
similarities in the
related.
DNA, so you call it relatedness.
No,
can
so
we get off the
relatedness
Okay,
meta
is defined.
topics?
Yeah, so
Jesus
bro.
Christ.
yeah, so relatedness is defined by the unit of heredity in biological organisms, which is the gene, and we could even test for this.
Oh, okay, so
Okay,
please forgive me if I'm ignorant in my understanding,
I forgive
but
you.
what it sounds like is you guys have an assumption that because what we understand of DNA currently, that there should be this evolutionary process where we've had this common ancestor, but yet you have no evidence to show any type of not even the common ancestor, but any of the ancestors along the way till now, correct?
Okay, just to be clear, by saying ancestors exist, you're already agreeing evolution exists. Just to give you a heads up, because
No,
you're
I'm going
saying,
off, yes, right. I'm going off of your
oh, okay,
framework and
sure,
trying to propose the question to you inside your own ideology. Yeah,
yeah.
that's how
What's
that goes.
okay? Could you just repeat it
So
one more
you're not
time?
making me believe in evolution because I proposed a question to you. I'm sorry.
Okay, so just say, you're just saying I don't have any proof.
No, I'm asking, yeah, I'm asking you if that's correct. You're claiming based off of an assumption of understanding of DNA from how you guys have looked at it recently that we have a common ancestor. All life has some common ancestor, yet even though that belief is still held fast to, you don't have any evidence of not only the common ancestor that we all came from, but any common ancestors along the way that created any of the life that we know it today. Correct?
So you're kind of misunderstanding what the theory of evolution is. The
It,
theory of evolution is the diversity of life is explained by changes in related
is that
organisms.
a no or is that a yes?
Well, you mischaracterized my theory in your internal critique, so I'm just going to correct your question to be
Okay,
actually
go ahead.
correct.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, go
So
ahead.
your misunderstanding what the theory of evolution is, it just states that the biodiversity of a life is explained by changes in related organisms. Evolution, biodiversity of life is explained by evolution. So that's what the
Yeah,
theory of
but
evolution is.
We're not talking about
Evolution,
biodiversity of life. We're
that's
talking about evolution.
literally what the theory of evolution
So
is.
you're going to substitute it and you're going to create a new term and you're
No.
going to say that they're hand in hand. And this is actually what we're asking you about, not the original term that we used, right?
Yeah. So again, it's my
Okay.
turn because
Thank
you're
you.
doing
I
an
just
internal
wanted to make
critique.
sure that's what your
Yeah.
tactic was. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, it's
You're
not
going to
your turn
redefine what
because
we're asking and
sure.
phrase it inside your own ideology.
Exactly, because you did an internal critique and you don't understand the position. So the
There you
theory of evolution tries to explain the biodiversity of life using changes in allele frequency, right? Darwin didn't know that genes existed, but he predicted a unit of heredity and he predicted universal common ancestry. He said for this to be the case, for the biodiversity of life to be caused by changes in similar
predicted,
organisms.
but have you guys yet to find the evolution of that or that not no, I'm sorry. Have you guys yet to find the evidence of that prediction? Can that's what we're
No,
asking for.
his prediction was right. There is a unit of heredity.
Okay, so can you show us the common
Yeah, DNA.
ancestry, like where it came from? Because you guys claim to have
I
all these
can't.
other different speciations that existed throughout the I guess existence of life, but you for some reason can't show us that common ancestry that we all developed from, and that's what we're asking for.
Oh,
Well,
well, I
Fresh, you're
couldn't
looking
show
for
you.
the missing link, right?
Sure. So I couldn't
Yes,
show you
Fresh?
missing
Luca.
links.
I couldn't show you Luca, but the good thing is I don't even need to agree that evolution exists. It's just you need to look at extant life today, and we see that evolution exists today.
Okay,
Done and done.
so we
Evolution
can
exists.
No. Evolution
yeah.
today is only is the speciation, right? But that's very
No,
narrow.
it's not. So evolution is just change in allele frequency. When a parent has a kid, there's a change in allele frequency there. So that's
Yeah, but
evolution.
So
that
they've
kid,
what it sounds like what's happened is they've redefined evolution for this new generation
True.
because the older
True.
generation and their definition of it they found to be false. Obviously, they hit a brick wall with that.
What
So
was your old
now
definition?
they're redefining it and they're calling it something that they can provide evidence for, even though it's not You know, the same
Just
thing
so
that
we
they
can
use
find
the same
evidence
What
for a
way.
new definition.
what we
Really?
Right.
need is, yeah, listen, we don't need different
Wait,
species, right?
what was the old definition?
We need you to show us the change from like something broader like family or genus changing into a different kind.
Again, you're not being too specific with that kind there. You want to be more specific or no? Is there a reason you're not being specific?
From
A
one
different
family to
kind of
another family.
from, yeah, one family to another family or one genus to another genus, because speciation we all can agree happens, right? Those traits change, but you're not going to change genus or family.
And where does evolution say that you do?
Well, that would be, what do you mean? That's been your theory the
Where
whole
does
time, that there's a,
evolution say you change genus or family?
you're
So
saying
again,
there's a common
they obviously
ancestor.
have a new
What?
common the definition
Why does that mean
of
you
what
change
evolution
genus
is
or
that they're
family?
teaching to these young new kids.
Yeah,
Because
why
If
does
you're
it mean you
saying
change genus or family? Give me
they
an
all
example.
have a common ancestor.
Yes. We all are under
Okay.
one of the three domains.
But we're all different species.
Which domains is that?
Yes.
So
I
what
think it's bacteria, archaea, and eukarya.
Okay, so when we're talking about different phylum, different class, different orders, you're saying all
Yes.
those have always been the same?
Yeah, you don't change your class, your phylum, your order, your kingdom, your domain, your family, your genus. You just change species. Speciation occurs, taxonomic and genetic.
Okay.
Cool. Great. That was a
Well,
great combo, guys.
I
Is there
don't
anything
think
more?
Well,
I
you
don't think
still have.
anybody would disagree with that, but
Okay, so then you agree
everybody
with
here,
evolution. If you agree with
no,
speciation and you agree
what's
that we don't
missing is
change,
the proof. What's missing is the proof, right?
what proof? You just said we agree that
Exactly.
speciation occurs.
What
Cool,
proof?
great. I don't know what
You're
proof you're asking for. We agree
all
that speciation
you're
occurs. Wait, hold on.
you're
Let me explain.
saying this stuff happens, but you're not showing any of it.
Showing what? You're not disagreeing. You say that no one
The
disagrees
common
that class, phylum,
ancestors.
kingdom, eukarya. You said no one
there
disagrees that
is
class we don't
there's
change.
no case of
Oh, I thought
speciation.
I could respond. Sure. So I thought you said that we agree speciation occurs. Great. And then you said we also agree that you don't change domain, phylum, kingdom, class, family, or
What
genus.
I'm saying is
So
you're not
we
showing
agree.
proof of a common ancestor for any of those things.
Okay. Why do you want that? I just said
Why would we
evolution is
want proof
changing
for
allele
evolution?
frequency. No, evolution is just changing allele frequency, and you agree that happens. Parent, kid.
We don't agree that that's what evolution is.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
that's
not
fine.
agreeing there.
I agree that you guys don't understand what evolution is or agree with it.
No, that might be what they're teaching you now, but it's commonly documented that they change curriculum throughout generations. So if you want to
Okay.
go down that rabbit hole, by all means, go ahead.
What rabbit hole? We don't disagree with what evolution is now.
No, we do. That's what we just
Oh, sorry. I
established.
thought we just said that speciation occurs, check, and that you don't change your domain, phylum, class, kingdom,
No, you
genus,
do.
or oh, you do? Can you give me an example of that?
Exactly. That's what we've been asking for.
Oh, so you
You
can't. So
fucking dork.
we don't disagree. Great.
We're saying you can't give us an example of a common ancestor between different things either.
Yeah, and I don't need to prove evolution. You just need to change your allele frequency, and I've done that.
So you can't show me a killer whale and a lion and a fox or a wolf and a dog having a common ancestor?
Nope.
I could. Yeah, they
Okay,
share
so
genes.
that's what
He
we're
can
saying
he
doesn't
can
exist.
theorize it. Yeah, he can
I told you
theorize
they
it,
share
but he can't
genes.
show it. He couldn't show the skeletal structure if he even dreamt it up.
Right. Until you
Oh,
show
I don't
me
think.
that
Yeah, so
a
Luca didn't
snake, a
have a skeletal
whale, and a
structure.
lion, until you show me something came from that
Oh,
a
a
snake, a
snake, a
lion,
whale,
and
and
a
a
whale
lion.
all, yes.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
share tetrapods. They're all tetrapods.
Yeah, show me what all three of those came from the same thing,
Well,
and then maybe
tetrapods
we'll
have
have
the
a
Tetrapod.
conversation.
same. Yeah,
Tetrapod.
tetrapods have DNA also. So those were actually foxes before they were tetrapods.
Yeah, so foxes is actually Canis. I actually think I just
Yeah, yeah. You
Vulpes,
can't
Vulpes.
prove me
Red
wrong
foxes.
because
Yeah,
the DNA came
no,
from them
so
first.
sure, you could say that. You
Yeah.
don't have the DNA for a tetrapod, so I don't know why you'd say that. Well, technically
I
you
don't
do.
know
You're
why
a
you would
modern
claim a
animal.
tetrapod would be anything if you didn't have the DNA to claim what it was.
No, tetrapod is
Isn't
just
that
like
coincidental?
no, tetrapod is like it's like I don't think it's a genus. It might be a class. I'm not sure off the top of
You
my head.
can't name it because you don't have the DNA for it.
Yeah, so I'm not
Welcome
naming an
welcome
organism.
to that reality.
Yeah. So
So you're
I'm
gonna
not
sit here
naming
and try.
yeah. So again, I'm not naming an organism. I'm naming a group or a class or a
Right.
kingdom. That's not. It's definitely not a
But you
kingdom.
said that the tetrapod was the common ancestor, even though you don't have the
Yes,
DNA to confirm that,
it's a
right?
class. Yes, that's the
It's
common
sure,
ancestor.
yeah.
They're
You're
all part
gonna
of this
make that
class.
assumptional leap, right?
Yeah, you
It's
can't
not a
prove
leap. It's
that.
the definition of how the taxonomy works. It's a super class.
You can't
Damn, bro.
prove that they have a common ancestor, though.
No, I just told you the common ancestor is a tetrapod. They're all under the same superclass.
You don't have
we're
the
asking
evidence
we're
for
asking
that.
for the proof of that. Where's the proof of that?
Brother, it's the name. You're asking me. It's like you're saying, what's
Yeah.
the proof
Oh,
of your
so just
grandma's
because you
name?
named it something, then that makes it real?
That's how taxonomy works. The way you
That's
name your
how
grandma is how you
taxonomy
name your
works, dude.
grandma.
I can just name something bug, and then that's the common ancestor for everything because I
Well,
said
you
bug.
can't do
I
that.
don't
But if you
need
find,
DNA
if
to
you
prove
find,
it.
if you
I don't have
find,
to validate it. All I have to do is just write a paper and get a couple homies to sign off on it, and then bug is your daddy. Isn't that crazy?
here's a cool thing. If you do find a new organism that's a different species, you can actually name it things. So there's like a Beyonce bee because some random person found it and they really wanted to like be like Queen Bee, like Queen Beyonce, and they got to do that.
Wait,
So it is
so
something you
Yeah,
can do.
there you
Yeah,
so
go.
what exactly? It's a tetrapod, right?
yeah, tetrapods.
He
So
doesn't know that because
what
there's no
exactly is
DNA.
that? What
So a
exactly is
tetrapod,
that?
so a
He
tetrapod is
doesn't
a
know.
superclass. So it's a group of limbed fish, kind of. So all currently four-limbed animals, and snakes don't seem like it, but they technically are because they're descendants of like lizards, which is really weird to think about. We had to get into a lot into cladistics here, but
Okay,
tetrapod
so
is basically
so so
all four-limbed
I
fish.
just need to ask what they were generally. So how do you
So
prove those existed?
we have their bones.
You have
Yeah,
their
So if
but
you,
bones.
but if you don't have their DNA, then how are you going to say what they were related to?
We don't have to say what they're related to. We just know all those things are related to each other.
You just
Yeah, you
name
just
it and make it related to everything?
what
No,
if that was
so like
what if
That
that was
works
another
really well,
species that wasn't
actually.
related to
If I could
anything,
just
bro?
okay,
find
here,
something and not have DNA for it and be like, this was
You,
the origin of
you
sure.
all
have
life.
a
So I could give you an
That
example.
works
biased
well, bro.
I
assumption
can
that they're
sure I can
related
give you
to each
guys an
other.
example. Fresh. You have like third degree cousins, right? Do you know their names?
Third degree cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle.
Oh,
I
okay.
know a few of them.
Do you have like 10th degree cousins?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Do you have names for them?
I know
No,
Philton for
I actually
sure.
do not know the names.
I
Okay,
know
I'll go with
Philton.
Michael. You could if we could go with okay. How about then 30th degree cousins?
just get to
No,
the point.
definitely not that far, but
Okay,
I know
You know,
Philton
cool.
for sure on
So,
that.
do you just want to give them like a random Latin name?
sure.
No.
Okay, yeah,
I
Michael,
mean,
if you
unless
want to
I
go.
want to be like you and just ascribe anything
Okay,
that
well,
was
Dude, no,
we
no,
narrative,
have
I mean,
to
yeah,
you
sometimes
could,
play along
or
with the
I could find
person
evidence
yeah,
for
you're
yeah,
what
the
exactly.
the name
Michael,
was.
at least you're being
we
honest. Yeah,
Wait,
so
no.
Michael,
You can claim you can give them whatever name you want. The point is, do
yes,
you have proof to claim that they evolved from the similar thing?
sure.
just
I
hear
was
him out.
literally just about to, I was just about to go through it. So,
Yeah,
Michael,
hear him out.
yeah. So, do you want to give like your 30th degree cousins? Let's just call them Micah Elias 30 degreeus. Some stupid.
Okay, sure,
That's definitely not Latin, right?
whatever.
So
Let's
now we have our species name because it's extant. It's
Why?
living today, right?
No, just because you put a name to it doesn't mean that that's where they came from. You have to validate that by having
Here,
the
I didn't even
evidence, dude.
finish. I didn't even
no,
finish.
he's saying the name you're giving your already known 30th degree cousins a name so that you can refer to them.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah,
At
just
least he's being
let
honest.
them
There
go
you go.
down the logic tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, okay. Now we know if you have a 30th degree cousin, you have some great grandparent you're related, like you share, right?
Yeah,
All humans,
Yeah,
yes.
sure. So can we give that some like name, like tetrapod? Can we say?
yeah, sure.
Sure.
There you go.
Okay, so but my
Okay, those are
question
all
is,
humans.
you
Yeah,
find
You're
my
humans.
question is,
When did the bug insect
Oh, you want to know about
tetrapod
genetic
turn into the
speciation?
human?
Oh,
okay,
you
so
want to know
my
about genetic
question is,
Oh,
speciation?
you want to be
Okay.
fucking
oh
talking about
my
I thought we were
that?
talking about taxonomy. You asked me about what the common ancestor between
Oh,
an
no.
orca
What
and
we're
you
a
read a
saying
book
is
about definitions and now you're smart.
wait. Why would you ask me about animals that are separated by entire class? Well, not
No,
classes.
you just no. I'm sorry. You just don't have the common sense to understand the questions being proposed to you, and
How would I give
you're
you?
just like you're
How would I
really
give you?
robotical and literal. So you're just gonna go off of
Sure.
what you
How would I
hear,
give
right?
you?
Not what
How
you
would I
know.
give you the genetic speciation between an orca and a whale, orca and a
You
shark and a
can't. We know
bass?
you can't. That's the whole point of us having this
How would I
conversation.
even do that? Like in
You
practice, if you're
wouldn't
gonna
be able.
go up
exactly.
by
You're gonna have to
can
take a
we
how
leap
would
get
I
of
back
how
on
would I
faith,
how
topic
would I
and you're
how
gonna
would I
have
about
to
how
just
would I
tetrapod?
how would I
believe.
how would I do that?
How would I? You're gonna have to go to
You
church and pray because
sure,
you're in a religion.
Tetrapods, guys.
so how would I do that if you went up by an entire family, which I said you don't change already?
You can't
Okay,
because
No.
you don't
You
have
don't
the
have
evidence
to.
for it. That's
Yeah,
what we're
we're
Yes.
not.
asking.
Why do I have to prove that they can't reproduce with each other by definition.
Why
they
do you need to prove that an orca, a person, an orca, a human, a lion, a fox, and a dog all came from the same thing? I wonder why.
Well, they
Guys,
are by genes. We can prove that.
can I
Okay,
ask about the
we're asking
tetrapods
for the
again?
missing link there, right?
The
He can't
tetrapods, guys.
provide it. He's gonna run for
I
an
just
hour
said
and a
it.
half.
Tetrapod.
We're
I just
already
said
at
it.
an hour and counting. You got 30 more minutes to listen, an hour and a half, so you've answered
Yeah.
one question.
Show
Sure, I
us a
just said
tetrapod.
it's tetrapod.
Show
Wait,
us a
just a minute.
tetrapod
Dude,
turning into
I,
each of those things.
I
Can
quoted him
You are
earlier.
tetrapod still, dummy. We're
I need
tetrapod.
to ask.
Your
You don't change your
IQ's
class.
booming right now, dude. An
Hey,
hour and
all
a
right,
half for
Hey
Reagan.
no mockery.
guys. Wait, hold on,
No
hold on,
mockery,
hold on,
please.
hold on. Do you change your class?
Yep.
You
What?
change
Your
your class?
example
Okay.
gave us, dude. Your
Yep.
examples are
One time I
terrible.
was a freshman. After that, I was a sophomore, and then I
So
was yeah, dude.
I
I
know
can
you
change
don't want to
classes.
answer this part because evolution doesn't
Get
say you
that.
have to change your class. So at no point
Wait,
does
wait.
I
a
didn't
tetrapod.
So,
change
No
class.
Akna,
All
sure.
are you willing to take my
human,
So
whale,
second round?
lion, dog are all same class.
exactly, they're all tetrapods.
Yeah,
Ding
I'm
ding
Well,
ding.
saying,
one thing to clarify.
yeah,
Tetrapod
what's their common ancestor?
never turned into a non-tetrapod.
That's right.
There you go.
Exactly.
True.
Welcome to no evolution. A
That's
Dude,
tetrapod
exactly how cladistics
never
works.
turned
tetrapod
into a
is a
non-tetrapod.
That's
astronomical
Quote
exactly
fact.
how
unquote.
cladistics works.
TwoOcna 2025.
That's exactly how cladistics
Yeah,
works.
show us
Yeah.
the missing link between that whole class of animals.
There's no missing link. We are tetrapods.
There you
What's
go.
before that?
Everybody's bugged.
Yeah, and what's before that?
I think Animalia would be the kingdom.
There
We're
he
all
goes.
animals. Don't we agree?
Running. He didn't answer your question. He's
He's not answering it.
say what we're classified as because he's
What?
scared. He doesn't know that
Wait,
answer.
wait,
I
Akna,
just
it's
gave
a
you the answer.
tetrapod.
It took an
What's
hour
the
and a
No,
half for you
what's
to
the
finally
common
realize.
ancestor?
So the common ancestor would be a group of organisms. Do we not agree?
What
No.
organisms?
Animalia. We're all Animalia. We're all eukaryota.
Right, so you're saying every all animals, Animalia, the kingdom, you're saying all those have always existed.
No, all eukaryotes have existed. And all
Everything's
animals are
always
eukaryotic.
existed then, like they asked in the beginning. Essie asked you that an hour and 10 minutes ago now.
No, he asked me if African elephants always existed, and I said no, and we agreed speciation occurs.
Yeah,
I
we're
asked you that, and you still have
Because
yet to
elephants in
demonstrate.
Africa weren't always there, dude. They came from somewhere else, right?
What
And
do
they
you mean
were
came from
something
somewhere
else,
else? No,
right?
no.
No,
Were you
No?
ever something else other than a human?
Welcome to no
Dude,
evolution, brother.
were you
Dude,
ever something else
This
other than a
is
human?
this is
dude,
hard to do.
Were
You're
you
making this
ever
really hard.
something? Were you ever something else other than a
no.
human?
He wants to keep it very narrow, right? From he wants to stay within your class. That's why
He
he's
has
asking
to.
questions like that, right? What we're
He
saying
has
Talking
is
to.
about?
That's his
He said
only. That's
African
his,
element. He said African elephants used to be something else.
who said
Why would
that?
they ever
Who
be
said
something
that,
else?
Akna? Who
okay.
said that?
First grown.
Did you
First grown
you
said
made the
African
statement
elephants
that we
came
have
from
a
somewhere
common
and they used to be
ancestor
somewhere
though?
else.
Who said that?
So
Yeah,
Fresh said
who
who
asked
said
about the
that?
African elephants used to be something else and they
No, I
came from
said they
somewhere else.
weren't. I said they always were.
No, yeah, you're
Yes,
making our
exactly.
argument that everything was what
That's
it
how evolution
was.
works. Yes, humans will always be humans. Ding ding ding.
There you go. No evolution, brother. No
How does
kind
that
to
mean no
kinds.
No,
evolution?
that's not what he's saying. He's saying existing humans will
Will
always
always
be
be humans.
humans.
But
Right,
he has no
Yeah.
proof of anything that created humans before humans.
right. Okay,
Yeah,
hold on.
like
So Akna has still yet to accept my challenge, or at least demonstrate it. Okay.
Go ahead.
So earlier you said elephants didn't always exist. There was a point in time in which they came into existence. Okay.
No.
So would you
Yeah.
agree? Okay, Akna, would you agree that an elephant is a complex, multicellular, multi-organ system being?
Yeah. An elephant is yes.
Okay, would you agree that the most primordial life form on the Earth, which is a single-celled eukaryote, is that also a multicellular, multi-organ life form in the same way
So
that an elephant is?
careful. So there's three domains. I think there's bacteria, archaea, and eukaryota. But Luca isn't known, and it isn't. It's the last universal common ancestor to our knowledge. So there could be life before it, and it could have just died out. So there could have been life died out and then reformed life, right? Or it could have just been the case that there's another form of life that just completely died out, and Luca is all that remains and is currently our tree of life. So our tree of life encompasses all life that we have now because we share all DNA with all living things. But that doesn't mean there could have been another group of life that had different DNA that all died out together. So I don't know the answer to that question. I'll be honest. I don't know the answer. I don't know if it was one cell or if it was a group of cells or if it was two different groups that came together and just the one that had its own independent DNA. Like if for example for real
Who
life.
does?
So no one does, so we don't make a claim on it.
Thank you. That's all we've been asking you to admit.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
we don't know exactly what caused abiogenesis. We just have, theories on different things, right?
Yeah. If you want to talk abiogenesis, there's definitely people in the server that would love to talk with you about
Sure.
that.
I don't
There's
know
a
too much about
scheduled
it.
debate. I think either what
I'll watch.
was it? Can
Well,
somebody
I was
back
just
me up?
yeah. So I was just
Taylor and
watching.
that one guy are supposed to go at it here in the next couple days.
There's a reason he
So
wants you
wait,
to
wait, just really
use
quick, really
his.
quick, really quick.
Hold on,
Because
hold on.
Rebel,
I was
wait,
speaking. I was
Rebel
speaking.
asked a question.
Just real fast, man, and I'll
I
shut
was
up.
just gonna say, Rebel asked a good question, and I honestly don't know the answer to it. I don't know what Luca was. We don't know what Luca was,
You said that.
and we,
You interrupted
yeah,
me to repeat yourself.
no, because I want to be very specific. He asked me if Luca was a single cell compared to animals now that are complex cells, and I said I don't know the answer to that. We just know that the three domains of animals tend to be single cells: bacteria, archaea, and eukaryota. There you go.
What's
I'm good. Go ahead. I'm just.
okay,
No
dude.
evidence of where those
Hold
three
on,
came from.
guys, hold on. Oh wait, okay, Okna. After, I mean, isn't that the case that the first life form, uh, after abiogenesis was some single-celled organism?
Again, that's not evidently clear. So things could happen where single-celled organisms can asexually reproduce, and we know that sexual reproduction could have occurred, like could occur. So there's no reason to believe that you could have two asexually reproducing organisms sexually reproduce, and then the original asexual reproducing organism completely died out, and now we only have one strand of DNA. There's no reason to believe that couldn't be the case. So I haven't read too much up on this, so I couldn't give you an answer to
Wow.
determine.
Okay, so you don't know what the original primordial
Yeah, I don't
forms
know
of
about
life
Luca.
were post abiogenesis on the Earth. You don't know.
Pre-abiogen. Sorry,
Pre?
I don't know between abiogenesis and Luca.
Uh, okay, and but you said you don't even know what Luca was. The fuck?
Well, Luca's just the last universal common ancestor.
And what the hell was that thing?
Says you.
Well, it would be Luca would be just a collection of organisms. So single-celled, assumedly, we doubt that would be multicellular.
Oh, okay,
Assumedly, it's
good.
all assumedly.
Guy, dude, it doesn't even
Told
matter.
you I
Let's
don't
grant
know.
him all
Right.
this. Dude, it doesn't even matter. Hold on, hold on. Let's grant him all this. It doesn't like we're just doing internal critique to see like how absurd this is. Okay, so it was a Luca as a group of single-celled organisms, right? According to you,
And
you just
Luca
said that.
would probably be a group of asexually like producing cloning
Okay,
organisms.
okay. So did they have multiple organ systems that worked through interdependence in the same way that an elephant does today?
No, because organ systems are like by definition like groups of organs. Organs are made by tissue. Tissues are made by cells, and
Right.
you need plural cells, so it wouldn't know.
Okay, so so this group of unicellular, or let's
Organisms.
just say
Yes.
single cell organisms. Okay,
Yes.
this group of them, right?
Yeah.
Was the first like, I mean, eh, let's let's grant you asexual reproduction. They were multiplying.
Well, we
You
see
know,
it
so the
today. So,
so yeah, they were multiplying, and maybe what they were turning into. Would you say multicellular organisms of a sort?
so when you say they were turning into, that's not a thing. Like I said, you will
They were
always be what you
they were
call
multiplying into. They were reproducing into.
cells duplicated. Yeah.
Okay, okay, they do. Okay, now was the first thing that they ended up reproducing into resemble anything like an elephant?
I really doubt it unless we got evolution super wrong.
Okay, so what was the first thing that they ended up reproducing into? Like, what did it resemble that we see today? Like maybe a fish of some sort?
Again, you're kind of confusing it. When you have a kid, you don't turn into your kid. You and your kid are two different things. But to answer your
Oh,
question, when the first reproductive cycle happened, let's say, there would be a slight change. I think, and again, I'm just pulling out of my ass because I don't know too much about the
The whole thing you're
baby
pulling
game.
out of your ass. We know that. We know that. We're just
I know.
entertaining it.
But
I have a question.
I'm not
I have a
trying. I'm
question.
just trying to say, if to answer your question, to my knowledge, I would guess the first thing that would have occurred would be, or at least one of the first things that would occur would be sexual reproduction between two cells.
So I have a question.
Yes.
These cells, they would have DNA.
Yes.
So would you say that they would have the same? They would have all of the information of all of the species, including elephants. There would be all of that information in the DNA of those cells from
All
the
right.
beginning.
So all DNA is coded by the same four base codons. So I don't know if you're intentionally asking the question vaguely. It's like kind of all books in English have A, B, C, D, and like the rest of the alphabet, right? But like you would never say that Harry Potter has the entirety of Shakespeare in it just because it uses all A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So like yes, but like not really no.
So basically, in order to make
Like
a
here,
genetic mutate,
let me answer in like a different way. If you had
yeah, go ahead.
like a kid's picture book that was the entire alphabet, you would never say that picture book is the entirety of the works of Shakespeare. But technically, there's nothing in that picture book that like isn't also in the works of Shakespeare. You know what I mean? Because the works
Yeah,
of
okay.
But
Shakespeare.
like, yes, I don't know is
So
classic.
basically,
Well, I'll just try to
so
explain the
Any
basically,
question.
more of that,
Why are you
please?
making him run again, man? Stop. Hold on.
wait.
Okay, Okna, dude. Okay. What was the first sort of like distinct life form that Luca evolved? Yeah, let's say evolved into that we can that you would have been able to point out and be like, oh look, this thing has certain anatomical features and physiological functions that it is no longer considered Luca. What was that first thing?
So I
Do you
don't
have
know the
any idea, or are you gonna make shit up
anatomical
again?
functions, but for physiological functions, right? So these would be archaea, bacteria, and eukarya, the three domains, the three largest domains.
Which are those? Okay, hold on. No, okay, no, sorry. Let me be more specific. What was the first multicellular, complex, multi-organ system life form that Luca evolved into? That's the better question. Go.
Um, I don't know off the top of my head. If
Is it-
I were to give an honest answer, I would guess some kind of like,
Yes.
you know, like what coral is?
A coral?
Yeah, it would be something like that. Yeah, it would be
Okay.
some
Okay.
sort of
Good.
ocean creature that's sexually
Fantastic.
reproducing, that doesn't move. Yeah.
Good, fantastic, good. Now we're getting somewhere. Hold on, guys, and please don't let him run. Look, this is how you do it. Like me and Okna have in history. I know how this guy talked. You guys were beating around the bush and going in circles because you don't know like the sophistry this guy's
All
goes
right,
through. Okay,
wrap it up, bro. We
Definitely
got it.
haven't
We're
been
wrong.
answering
Go.
the most honest
okay.
possible ways.
So here's the thing. Okay, so now we have Luca and corals. Good.
Well, we have a lot
So
of other things to be careful. Remember, because
oh, we
now we're
do.
already in
Oh,
eukarya.
hold on. So Okna. So that means either you admitted your answer wasn't like in full, or you just like somehow you're now
No, no,
all
no.
of a sudden
You
remembering.
asked
What
for
else are there
multi.
besides corals then?
Sure. So you asked for multicellular organisms, but we still have archaea and bacteria, which I think to
Nope.
this day
I
are.
only care, dude. I only care about the life forms that are multicellular, complex, and multi-organ system. That's the only ones that I care about from Luca. Okay.
Okay.
I don't
So
care
I
about
don't.
other
Yeah.
single cell bacteria. I don't care about that.
Yeah. So again, it would be. I don't know what it goes. Uh, Kingdom. I don't know what the next kingdom would be. The next branch of kingdom after the domain eukarya. I can look it up for you if you want. Do you want me to look it up or no?
No. I'm not talking about these vague taxonomical class
They're
either
not
that
vague.
like
They're
group
very
everything in.
specific.
That's not what I'm asking about either. No. So you just like you said coral, okay? Like
Mm,
Earth today has
yes.
it
You
has like
understand the coral back then
dude,
is not the
it
same as the
has
coral today,
spiders and
right?
eagles and falcons and
Yes.
elephants,
They're all
lions,
extant
tigers. I mean,
species.
it has trees and bushes and flowers.
Yes.
Dude,
All
okay. So
extant
now, but
species.
all you've said now, all that exists up until this point is single cell a group of single celled organisms and corals. Okay.
No, I didn't say that. I said there would be single cell organisms, archaea, and bacteria still exist. You asked what would the first form of multicellular organisms be, and I said my best guess would be something that's like common day coral. Like, would it be
Good.
common day coral?
Good. Okay.
Good.
So then what? Okay, but obviously on the Earth today exists many more other
Yeah.
multicellular,
Diversity of life.
Wait,
multi-organ
wait,
life
Yeah.
forms
please,
other
wait,
than
please,
corals,
wait,
right?
wait,
Diversity
wait,
of
wait,
life.
wait.
Yes.
He's saying my best guess, but he's claiming that this is a documented thing.
Well, I
So
don't know
why
what
don't
the
you have the
kingdom.
documentational
Sure.
evidence of that process?
I can look up the
That's what this whole
kingdom.
discussion's about.
Wait,
I can look up the taxonomic kingdoms, but he didn't want me to. Can I look them up, or
no,
should I not?
dude, no, stop. Okay, a coral is a multi-organ system that Luca evolved to. Okay, what's another one? What's another one that it evolved into,
I
or
just
did it
said it
not?
would be the six kingdoms of life:
Which are what?
Animalia, Plantae, fungi.
No, dude, is a coral a type of a kingdom?
No, it's not. That's why I said it would be
Okay, so
something that
I want
looks.
you to give me another example like the coral. Don't go back. Don't start coping and go back to your taxonomical chart.
I said it's like coral. It's not literally modern day coral. Do you understand that?
No, what is it? We
Okay.
want to know what it is
I
specifically
just
since it's been documented.
I just said it would be king. I don't know
Not
why I'm
it
explaining this to
would
you guys
be.
again.
What
Yeah,
was it? Not
fine.
it would
Domain
be.
split. Yeah,
We're not
sure.
talking
Domain. Sure.
theoretics. We're
Sure. Sure.
talking
Sure.
reality,
Sure.
remember?
Domain split into six kingdoms.
We're not,
There you
dude. We're not
go.
asking about
So
kingdoms.
then what are the what are those six things that came from it?
Animalia, Plantae, fungi, protista, eubacteria,
What
and
were they?
archaea.
No, not just the general names. What were the things that came from those? Classifications didn't come from a creature.
What? Okay, how about you tell me the answer you're looking for, and then I'll give you a response. How about we try it the other way? Because I don't understand what you're asking then.
Sure, you don't understand.
Yes,
No,
I just gave you.
give an example from each kingdom.
So from Animalia, we all obviously know this. Like I said, Vulpes vulpes, Canis lupus, those are all the genus and then the species, right?
Not all. What was the first one, bro? You're saying one thing turned into multiple things. What are those things to validate your claim? Be specific. Don't give a generalization of things that are classified under that name. Show us that you have proof of your claim and show us the very first documented case of that thing that broke from the original thing that we're talking about. Whatever name you want to call it, taxonomical, species, whatever you want to say it is.
I'll look up the. 'Cause again, like I said, I don't know this off the top of my head, but I will look up the oldest fossil of the last common ancestor we have. Would that satisfy you guys? That's what you're looking for, a specific thing? Because you didn't, like I said,
Has
the
this
six
not
kingdoms.
been the conversation the entire time? Are you really going to try to play that
No,
coy and
he
ignorant as
asked
if
me
you
what
can't
domain
read
turned
and
into.
asking
He asked me what
for?
domain turned into, and I gave him the
We're
six
talking about
kingdoms.
evolution and the common definition of it, and you're going to act like you don't know what we're asking for.
Okay.
And
He
it's
asked
been
me what
2
domain
hours.
turned into. Okay, I'll look it up because you don't want to hear what I said. Okay. Oldest fossil of last common ancestor.
For an hour and a half, almost 2 hours now, for you to present your case. And we've just been
Not my
running
case.
in circles.
You guys just don't
That doesn't
understand
look like
how
a
taxonomy
strong case
works.
for you presenting what you claim is
Done.
factual.
Yeah, again. Okay, stromatolites are the oldest known fossils,
Oh,
representing the beginning
fascinating.
of life on Earth.
Okay, very good. Okay, so Akna, did the African elephant was the first one originated through means of asexual reproduction or sexual reproduction? Which one of those two?
Is that a serious question? Sexual reproduction.
Yeah, yeah, it is actually.
Okay.
Just fucking answer it.
I just said
What was it?
it was
He
sexual
said
reproduction.
It was sexual. Good. Okay. Tell me, tell me give me the specific identities of all the life forms that had to go through sexual reproduction that ended up in the modern day elephant today. Go ahead.
I can look up the first sexually reproducing organism, I guess, if we're gonna
Oh,
stupid.
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
Oh, so no, you got to look shit up. Okay, good. Go ahead. Yeah,
I
we'll
told
wait.
you this. I don't know it off. Oh, actually, it's
Oh,
apparently
you
a
don't know shit.
very
Yeah, go ahead, dude. Yeah, we'll wait.
uh
Go ahead.
protist.
A what?
Protists.
What is that? What is it?
I
Show us
think
a
you
picture.
should look into it.
Send a
He
link.
has to click on it real quick so he finds the Wikipedia definition.
Send a citation. What is it?
His
Okay.
internet's slow.
Okay. Do you want like a Nature article, Wikipedia? Do you want University of Cambridge?
Anything. Anything's good.
Anything? Okay,
Yep.
The
there you go.
first link at the top of the page. Just copy and
It's,
paste, brother. Come on.
it's Wikipedia, and you just said that I used a Wikipedia in an insulting way, so I thought you guys wouldn't want a Wikipedia, so I gave you Cambridge.
Post it in the live stream text.
I just did.
I don't see it. Where's
He's
that?
in the
My
chat.
problem.
He's in the live stream chat, not the text.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Okay. Hold on. Let's look at this. This is good. Now we're getting somewhere. Holy shit! Took long enough. All right. Hold on. So. Okay.
I love how you guys have
So
to be in an argument to learn about this stuff.
with the cart. So I see a cartoon at the top. Then I
Mhm.
see.
Dude, it's literally labeled the earliest evidence of reproduction. It has nothing to do with evolution. This is stupid. I'm
Holy
not going to
fuck,
waste my
that's
time
stupid.
looking at that.
He's actually, that's fine.
Reproduction isn't evolution, my boy.
So how do you think you get a change in allele frequencies?
Man, that's
Hold on.
not what evolution is. You can keep trying to pin down the argument into your specific framework of ideology, but it's not going to work in here, dude.
Michael, you actually seem honest.
Evolution
You
is
understand what I'm saying?
caused by reproduction.
Wait, hold on.
Evolution is caused by reproduction.
Guys, we're getting somewhere. This is good. Okay, so Akna. Okay, those fossils that they found, and they call them what? They call them a protist, or is there more like a specific name for them?
That's just what they call it. I don't know.
Okay, you don't know what they call them. I mean, didn't it say in there
Protist,
somewhere?
that's what it says.
Where in here does it say? I mean, it says rangeomorphs, bro.
Yeah, so it says there's a type of rangeomorphs called fractophossus. The researchers observed that larger grandparent rangeomorphs were randomly distributed in their environment and were surrounded by distinct patterns of smaller parents and children.
Yeah, we can read new stuff too, dude.
So what's the issue here?
Okay, good. So how do they know these fossils sexually reproduce with each other? How do they know that?
Did you just not read literally the
No,
paragraph?
dude, it's your source. You fucking tell me.
I'm not going to teach you evolution like that. If you want to read it, you can read
That's
it.
a nice way of saying you don't know.
I'm
right?
literally reading it right now. You can read it too.
Oh, okay. So read it for me. How do they know?
I'm not going to read it for you.
Just steelman it, shorthand it for us.
Paraphrase it. Paraphrase it.
I gave you the citation. If you want to read the citation, feel free to read the citation.
Any type of evidence other than just paperwork on a
Okay.
descriptive theoretical process.
Okay.
What about
You know
evidence?
what? Dude, okay. Hold on. We'll grant them this. Watch this. We'll grant them it. Okay. Good. Okay. So whatever they used some methodology to somehow find out, they found some fossils in the ground. They're like, oh yeah,
I
obviously
didn't say whatever. Like you can't
these
read what it
sexually
is.
reproduce with each other. Okay. Let's grant you it. Fuck it. Whatever. Okay. Good. So now, what was the what was the offspring of these things? Was it more rangeomorphs, perhaps, Akna?
More protists.
More protists. Okay, good. And those protists sexually reproduce into sexually reproduce what? More protists?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you get these sexually reproducing protists to an elephant, bro? Tell me every single sexually reproducing life form that led up to the African elephant. We can go one by one. Don't just give me
We're
this
in the kingdom
vague story
Protista.
about
Do you think elephants are in the kingdom Protista or Animalia? If you were to guess.
dude, I don't
Where do you
know.
think they're in?
I don't
He
care
asked
about
you a
the
I'll
question. Why
explain it
would you
again.
ask
I
him a
don't care
question
about
back?
the
Why would you just
classification.
answer his
Oh,
question?
it kind of seems important though. Do you think elephants are in the kingdom Protista or Animalia?
Dude, the classification is arbitrary, even according to you. Doesn't matter.
So, do you think elephants are in the kingdom Protista or Animalia?
Dude, why does it matter? Why don't you tell me? Who cares? Just answer the question. In the same way that you told me that the earliest sexually reproducing organisms were these like rangeomorphs, whatever the fuck that is, right? Okay,
Yeah.
tell me what the next one was. What was the
Mighty
second
Morphin
earliest?
Power Rangers, bro.
Yeah,
You
Power Ranger
two both
morphs.
said
Yeah,
something. Which okay. What's the
yeah.
second sexually
Yeah.
reproducing kingdom?
No, what? Not kingdom,
So
organism.
Protista. So Protista is a kingdom.
Okay, I didn't ask you about kingdoms. I asked you about the specific
Did
name of
you
the
asked?
organism. I asked you about the specific species, essentially.
You want to look up Protista or Protist?
Dude, no. I just
Then
want
we're
to
done
know.
with this conversation. If you don't
Oh,
want to
so
engage in an
yeah,
honest
you're
way,
gonna run. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you know damn well you can't tell me all the different transitional life forms that led up to
Protista.
African elephant today.
Yeah,
Now you want to
Protista.
run away. Yeah, exactly. I
Protista.
got you.
Yeah,
That's
Protista.
yeah,
Yeah,
because you got
Protista.
cornered,
Yeah,
right? You were
Protista. Yeah,
unable to
Protista.
demonstrate evolution
Yeah.
as it's
So,
theorized and
Sure,
practiced,
sure,
right? And
sure.
due to your inability, now you want to say you're done with the conversation because you want to run away now, right?
No, so
Because you
Protista
realize
never
you can't
turned.
actually demonstrate any of the bullshit that you're spurting.
Absolutely, you're super right. So Protista never turned into African elephants because African elephants are part of the kingdom Animalia and not Protista. Crazy, right?
All right, guys.
Oh,
I have something to say. So
Michael, I'll
I
give you the
think,
last word because you're actually being honest. Let Rebel go
well,
because he's gonna spur.
so basically, I think both, like, I've done some research on, I don't know how much compared to you all, but I've done some research on like evolution and everything, and I can see like very valid points on both sides. Like, uh, evolution, it like if you look at it in certain lights, it can definitely work. Like, it's not stupid. So for the people who think it's absolutely stupid, it's not. At
It's
least
absolutely
in the way
dumb.
I see it. But it's all like, I think we all need to respect each other more. But I also do just have a question for TwoOcna. Just a quick question. Like, what do you think the accounts of magic and supernatural happenings are?
What?
Just a question.
So just to be clear, it's not running if I get muted. And also, if you want to join the MDD debate server, I have an evolution debate. So any of you can come up and debate me on a live stage if you think I'm running. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I don't know what you mean by magic. I've never seen a supernatural event occur because to even experience things is a natural event. I don't know how that'd be possible. So yeah, I couldn't even fathom what a supernatural event would be.
Like
To even
anything, like
experience
this, the documented accounts in history, like in
it.
all of the cultures with
But how could it be
supernatural happenings.
supernatural? Because you're experiencing it. It has to be a natural event. Like to
No, no,
experience things as a person.
something that appears to be divine, something that appears to be like, that is unscientific, that is not scientifically explained. It cannot be, basically.
Um, I don't know anything that well, there are some things that can't be scientifically explained, but I don't know why that would make it supernatural. You know what I mean? Like it could just be in the domain of not explained by science yet.
Sure. Well, yeah, but like, let me try to think of an example. Like, wrist reading, prophesying, um,
So why do we even need to use
water
those
witching.
examples? Like, why don't we just go to something that we know isn't supernatural that we thought was supernatural? Lightning, for example.
Yeah, that's scientifically explained, but I'm saying, like,
Yeah, but
how would
at
you,
all
how,
points in
yeah, and
time,
that's kind of what I'm asking you. How would you explain, like, water witching, or
I would just say
wrist
it's not
reading,
explained by
or
science yet.
prophesying?
So I don't think those things are like they're not sufficient just predictions, or there are not phenomena that occur like commonly enough to be
Well, it's
considered.
happened all throughout history. Prophesying is undeniable.
Yes, but the accuracy of those prophecies is in question, right?
No, actually,
Sure.
you look at
So
any,
every
you look at
prophecy
all
made
these.
by any person ever,
What's that?
any
why are you
prophecy made by any person ever.
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if there are prophecies,
Oh,
like many accounts of prophecies that have been fulfilled to the exact word and letter, like I'm just asking. I'm not like trying to. Yeah, I'm just asking. Like, how would you explain that?
Sure. My answer would be an infinite amount of natural causes can explain anything. There's no, I would just say it's something that we do not know yet.
Okay.
Yo, Rebel, we
Okay.
can go on MDD. I always have an open evolution challenge.
no,
Yeah.
we're gonna do it right here, right now, because I don't give a fuck. Right, to schedule shit, right?
No,
And
no.
this
Well,
and this is
okay,
recorded too, so I don't have to. Yeah, so
sure.
I can clip it. Okay, so right. So
Okay.
yeah. So you know how the species name of the African elephant is the what is it? Loxodonta africana, right?
Sure. I'll take your word for it.
Okay, that's the species name. Good. So what is the species
The genus
name
plus a species
of the
name.
range of that Protista rangeomorph, whatever you cited earlier? What's the
They don't
species of
have
it?
a species name.
Oh, they don't have one. Okay, I see. So um
They're not a
so what
species, buddy.
so what
There's
was the
things that don't have species
oh,
names.
right? Hold on. So what was the first
Yes.
identified species, right, of a sexually reproducing organism?
Oh, first, I don't know what lineage was, or Carl lineage, I think is how his name is. He was the first person to create taxonomy. So I don't know what. Or, sorry, it's Linnaeus. It is Linnaeus. Oh, fucking
He
Carl Linnaeus
created it. What
first.
do you mean
Yes,
he
he did.
created?
He's the father of modern taxonomy.
Good.
Like it's just a man-made concept. It's not real.
Taxonomy is okay for those two things. I'm not even gonna respond to that. Yes, it's a man-made concept. Taxonomy.
Good. Yeah. So what was the first identified species of the first sexually reproducing multi-organ system organism?
It just says here that Carl Linnaeus is credited with the first classifying humans as species, naming them Homo sapiens, meaning the genus Homo and the species is sapiens.
Yeah, we don't care about your little background history on where taxonomy came from. Stop deflecting and answer my question directly.
Just
What was the
answered
what
you.
was the what was the name of the first identified species that underwent sexual reproduction?
Okay, I'm gonna try to be super chill here.
Yeah, you see when I know the questions to ask, it's just nothing but crickets from you, right?
It's not nothing but crickets, but I know
No,
you're gonna
that's
interrupt
exactly
me.
what it was for the past 5 seconds.
Okay,
Crickets.
well, I would love to answer, but I think you're gonna interrupt me, so I'm just letting you do it
No,
all
go ahead,
now
make
so
some
you get it out of
bullshit.
your system.
Go ahead. Yeah, we'll wait. Go ahead.
Okay, you ready? Okay, so extant species, the ones that are alive while Carl Linnaeus was alive, all existed. All of them were in the kingdom Animalia. Do you know what he did? He gave all of those animals a genus and a species name, but all sexually reproducing things are Protista and Animalia, and I think Plantae are sexually reproducing, some of them at least. So to say what was the first identified sexually reproducing species makes no sense because sexually reproducing didn't start at the species level.
Really?
Yes,
Where did it start?
I just said started at kingdom, to my knowledge. Because
Wait,
Protista were the first sexually reproducing things in their kingdom.
wait, hold on. Wait, are you saying all the different classes of the taxonomical chart did not exist prior to the actual like concept of it?
Yes, taxonomy didn't exist before the concept of taxonomy existed.
No, dude. Oh my God. I'm asking about in reality. Taxonomy is the
Yes,
reference. I'm talking about the
yes,
actual reference of the
yeah.
actual biological organism. Are you saying the very reference out there in the real world did not exist prior to the conception of taxonomy?
Extinct species existed at one point. Yes,
Oh, wait. Oh, species. So species did exist without the conception of taxonomy, right?
yes, genetic species existed. Yes,
Before the conception of the taxonomical
yes.
chart.
There were creatures that could not interbreed with their parent organisms before taxonomy. Yes.
Okay. So what was the first sexually reproducing organism after Luca?
Again, I do not know the answer to that because we don't refer to them like that. We use taxonomy. That's how it works. I don't know what to tell you. Sexually
Yeah,
reproducing didn't start at
yeah, I'm
sexually
asking.
reproducing.
Is species not part of
Please do.
taxonomy, Ogno? Is species not part of it?
It's the lowest level. It is a part of it.
Okay, yeah, it's the lowest level, and it's also the most specific. Okay, so
Yes.
that's why I'm trying to focus on that. So, what was the species that was the first sexually reproducing? Dude, the reason why I'm asking you is because you said the elephant came into existence through sexual reproduction. So I'm trying to see, okay, how did it get there? What
It
were all these
came.
species that had to reproduce to get to the Loxodonta
The
africana?
species didn't reproduce. The I don't. Oh, okay, it's so difficult with you people. Okay, can I give you an example of like a modern animal right now that would make this a lot easier?
Like the Loxodonta africana? You mean that one?
I'm gonna give you one that hasn't speciated yet genetically, and it's a subspecies, so it's eventually gonna speciate, and we can explain this. Are you ready?
Why can't you use an elephant?
Because elephants common the ancestor of an elephant isn't an extant species. It's not alive today,
Well,
so it doesn't get a
elephants aren't
species
alive.
name.
What? Elephants
No,
aren't alive
the
today.
thing that elephants, the things. Sorry, the things. Sorry, wait. The things that elephants didn't. The things that elephants speciated from aren't an extant species, so they aren't alive today.
Oh, what is the thing that elephants came from?
Their genus name is Elephante, so it'd be a group of animals that are under that category. I don't know off the top of my head. I can just give you an example we all know, and it'll be so easy. Can I
No,
please make
stop it.
this easier for us?
No. How do you know the modern day elephant came from those to begin with? How do you know that?
It didn't. They are that thing. You are your
Oh,
genus.
you're just gonna declare it and like the sources trust me, bro.
You are your genus, dude. You don't change your genus.
Dude, you said they don't exist anymore. As in they used to exist, but they don't anymore. So I'm asking
Yes,
you, how do you know
the
that?
genetic speciated parent of the elephant is not alive today.
So how do you know it was alive to begin with?
What?
What? Answer it.
Okay, just repeat it one more time because I legitimately don't understand that one. Go one more time.
If you're saying what the modern day elephants came from is no longer alive today, that implies there was a point in time in which it was alive. So I'm asking you, how do you know that to be the case?
Because well, Elefante, or if you want the specific term, uh, whatever it is, Loxodon elefante, right? That is related to another extant species that it can't reproduce with. So we know they share a common ancestor.
And that common ancestor is
Something in the something in the genus of Loxophante or whatever the fuck it is.
oh well. Wait, how do you know that? How do you know this ancestor existed, dummy? How do you know that?
Loxodonte.
Because when you have a cousin you're related to, you know you share a grandparent.
Wait. Okay, so
Can I
but
just give you the
surely that
dog
should be
example? It's so easy right now,
dude.
please.
But surely you should be able to observe that somehow, right? Maybe in the fossil record or something.
Why would we need to observe it?
Because if your theory is true, then it should be corroborated in reality as an observation.
So change in Leo frequency is seen.
Yeah, that's you going back to this vague thing that doesn't mean anything.
I'm gonna give you the dog example. Please, just it's so much easier. Please,
Yeah,
just let me do it.
you're
Do
doing a
you have
Mott and
a
Bailey
citation
fallacy.
for
I'm
where
not doing a
you're?
Monte Bailey. It's exactly what you're asking. So
No,
we agree
Mott and
that
Bailey.
gray wolves exist, right?
Orca,
Wolf.
real quick, or Ocna, real quick. Do you mind posting in the chat like a citation or source of where this definition of evolution you're describing you got from?
It's my definition, but I can give you one that is
Oh,
used.
there we go.
It's the one
Yeah,
you
do you
asked me
mind
for.
putting that in the chat for us? Like
Sure.
this specific change in Leal, like whatever you're saying it is right now, can you put that in the chat for us so we can see where you got that from or who taught that to you?
So we have, would Merriam-Webster work?
Yeah, just go ahead, post it.
So I'll read it out why I posted it. A descent with modification from pre-existing. Actually, I'll just, because I don't care and you guys don't care either.
No,
Okay.
can you just post it for us?
I just did. Okay, so
Okay.
we agree that gray wolves exist, right?
Sure.
Okay. We agree that they're called Canis lupus taxonomically, right?
What is that text that you posted that you copy and pasted? Can you post the link of where you got that from?
I said Merriam-Webster. I said it
No,
already.
can you just post the link though?
You can look up the word yourself.
Thank you.
Okay. We agree that gray wolves are Canis lupus. That's their name, right?
Sure.
Okay. We agree that dogs that walk around, like the pet dogs people have, is a subspecies of that called Canis lupus familiaris, right?
Mhm.
Do we agree that they're both Canis?
What do you mean by they're both Canis?
They both are part of the genus Canis.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so let's say one day a Chihuahua can no longer, I don't think they can even at the moment. Let's say that one day that no dog, like pet dog, can interbreed with a wolf, then they would fully taxonomically and genetically speciate, correct?
I mean, a Chihuahua is a wait. A
Yeah,
Chihuahua is still considered Canis lupus familiaris as a
familiaris, yes.
as opposed to just Canis lupus. So aren't they already speciated taxonomically?
No,
I
they're a
need to get in for a
subspecies.
second. Okay, just
They're a
because you
subspecies. Hold on,
selectively
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I was going to explain it in 2 seconds. It's a perfect
go
example because
ahead.
we all know what they are. Please just let me finish. Please. They're a subspecies because they can technically genetically still reproduce. There is just barriers that are preventing it, like morphology. Wolves are too big to have kids with dogs, but genetically, there isn't. Sorry. Genetically, there isn't really any barriers preventing it, right?
But selective breeding is not evidence of speciation.
Let me just
Very
finish the
natural
example. Okay,
prediction.
so we agree that there will be a day that a common dog cannot have a kid with a gray wolf, right?
No, we don't agree with that. Why should we? Why should we assume that to be the case? Why?
Yeah.
So you just think genetic speciation just doesn't occur ever?
Hey,
No,
where's that definition at in the Merriam-Webster? Because I'm looking for it. I went all the way down to the sixth one, and I don't see that changing whatever you're saying.
Okay, so descent means you come from something, an ancestor. Modification from pre-existing species. So you change. Cumulative. Oh, well, you could add both of them, or you could do one of them. So that's just change from pre-existing things. Okay, so that's one. Cumulative inherited change in populations of organisms through time, leading to the appearance of new forms. So cumulative means the sum, the total, or the grouping of inherited changes. So inherited changes, what would we call that? Phenotypes. Phenotypes are produced from genes. Cumulative changes in alleles, which
Are
result.
phenotypes still not the same thing as their parents?
They are, which is why I'm trying to do the dog example.
Right.
Let's just rant
So,
one day. Let's just rant one day. You don't even need to. You can reject genetic
is this
speciation.
an example of something
I
changing from?
am literally about to explain it in 2 seconds if you guys let me finish.
Right.
Let's just grant one day that there will be a Chihuahua that cannot have a kid with a gray wolf because of genetics. We say that it gets radiation gets fucked up, all of them. Can we just say that? Or you could just deny genetic speciation if you want.
Are you saying that the dog, because the dog would eventually not be able to um reproduce with a wolf,
It would be
that it is
speciated. It would no longer be a
yeah
subspecies. And guess what they both would still be? Both this new species and gray wolves. What would they both still be?
the canine?
There you go. They would both still be Canis. They didn't
Okay,
change what they
Okay.
perfect.
are. A
So
Canis never
Akna,
produced a non-Canis.
oh, Akna, thank
Are
you.
we
Yeah,
Why
I
happy?
wouldn't they be
understand where
able
you're
Are
to
we
coming from.
happy?
produce?
Are we happy with
Why
that?
wouldn't?
What?
Okay,
Oh, no, no,
Akna,
no.
I
Hold on.
why
understand where
wouldn't
you're
they
No, no,
be
no,
coming
able
no.
to
from.
Hold
Yeah.
on, hold on, hold on.
produce?
I was super honest there. I give you a perfect example that explains it exactly with animals that we know right now. What
Yep.
part of that did you not understand or do you disagree with? Do you reject
I
genetic
understand where you're coming
speciation
from.
Can
or
I
they
answer
both
that?
would be canis? What
It's
part do you reject?
Okay,
I
what's
understand
preventing
where
them
you're coming
from
from.
interbreeding?
Too many changes in genetics. A very common one you could just say is if you have too many chromosomes. There you go.
Dude, it's still
No, 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 no,
insufficient.
no, 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 no. Hold on. Really quickly. What part of
I mean,
that do you not like? Do you not like the genetic speciation or do you not like the new name? Which part?
we're fine with all of that. But
Those
here's
are
Cool.
loaded
That's
questions. Can I
evolution. I
please
think I'm done.
fucking answer? Okay, yeah, he's done. Thank you. Okay.
yeah, run
Do
So
you,
away.
just
if you
because
agree with
there's
both of that, you agree with
No, no,
evolution.
no,
everyone, let's
could
let
you
Larry
shut
speak,
up?
please. Yes,
What the
Larry.
fuck?
Larry's been
Okay.
waiting.
Yeah,
Okay.
been listening too, intently. So, just because a woman sexually selects someone and her offspring change, that's not evolution. So breeding isn't
It
evolution.
is.
Okay, according to you, we know that your argument. We heard you say it like 5,000 times. Can I talk now? Is that all right with you? Do I have your permission? Can you govern yourself? Do you have a mute button? Okay, so just because you have breeders that want to breed cute and cuddly dogs that can survive in the heat of Mexico, and you select cute and cuddly dogs over and over again, that's not evidence of evolution through natural selection because it's not natural selection. So this guy's given really bad examples, but he just wants you to say yes to all his questions, and then he does like a little victory dance monologue, like
Yeah.
filibuster at the end, so you can't like say anything. And he's
Yeah.
like cheerleading himself, patting himself on the back, like I got them to agree with me. So
Well,
that's his
just to be
tactic. That's what he's
clear,
doing over and over and over
sure.
again. It's a cycle. I've watched it like 10 times.
Evolution isn't only caused by natural selection.
Oh,
Ooh.
interesting. Yeah, but the problem is, I mean,
So we're just gonna skip over that part. Got it.
that
Okay.
was a false analogy because the selective breeding that humans do as a deliberate effort to sort of breed these traits to make it into like these different types of dogs. Okay, but the problem is, your even if you accept what you just said there with your little dog example, genetic speciation that no longer allows a domestic dog to
Reproduction
breed a
with the gray
wild
wolf,
wolf. The
and they would
problem
still be
is
both canis.
you can't tell us how the first wolf came into existence. You can't tell us that.
First canis lupus.
Yeah, you can't tell us how from the original primordial life form, which are a single celled or even just a clump of cells, right? How those came to be the first wolf.
Canis lupus is an extant species. It was alive before Linnaeus. It was alive after Linnaeus. He just named them.
By Canis lupus, you mean a wolf, right?
Yeah, the gray wolf.
The gray. Okay, how did the first gray wolf come to existence on the earth?
I don't think you understand the populations part.
Stop deflecting. Answer the question.
You know the different forms of speciation? Yes or no? Just a really quick question.
Uh,
You know how
ge-
things can speciate?
genetic and phenotypic. Is that what you said?
No. So speciation can happen in multiple different ways that have names. It's like allopatric. It's allopatric. No, actually, I'm not gonna lie and pretend like I know all of them off the top of my head. Forms of species. It's like allopatric, parapatric. Forms of speciation. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I was right. Allopatric, parapatric, parapatric, and sympatric. Okay.
Okay, so in
Yeah.
the late 90s, Kent Hovind predicted that in the future they're going to dig up dogs and they're going to say that this was evidence of
Dogs
evolution.
isn't a
And this
very
dude is
specific
actually.
name. That's not a
Oh, can you be
specific
quiet?
name.
Can you be
Well,
quiet
use a
while I'm
specific
talking?
name.
Could you shut your fucking mouth and have some respect?
Yes, please,
Show
man.
everyone in here that your
Sure,
father raised you correctly, that you don't speak when other men are
sure,
speaking.
sure. Didn't you just okay?
Yeah, because I listened to you talk, right? And I put myself
Sure.
on mute when you
Maybe
were
we should
talking, right?
listen to the scientist talk.
Dude, you don't think that I'm a scientist?
I don't think you're an evolutionary biologist.
I'm not. But
Okay.
does that mean that I can't utilize the scientific method?
Are you
You
Okna?
can. It's just kind of strange.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
okay.
not a scientist.
So
That's
you
why I said
should
he should
listen.
let the scientists talk.
You should listen to the scientists speak then, right? According to your own
Not on
logic.
something they don't know about. Why would I listen to you talk about something you don't know about?
Bro, you think that chihuahuas is evidence of evolution. You think that people fucking are making babies is evidence of evolution.
You
Is
think
that
having
what you've
kids
gotten
isn't evidence of
$100,000
evolution?
worth of
TwoOcna.
unforgivable debt for?
Do you think kids aren't evidence of evolution?
TwoOcna. Basically, you shouldn't. Yeah, I'm just saying you shouldn't interrupt him because it doesn't matter if you think he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like all throughout life, we're going to encounter situations where we think the person doesn't know what they're talking about, but if we listen, like we might change our mind, we might not change our mind, but we just need to listen and respect.
Michael, I'll ask you,
But
because you're the only one that seems to be honest here. Do you think that I explained evolution in a way that isn't comprehensible, like non-understandable?
It's insufficient is the problem.
Michael, I was asking
so
Michael.
so I understand
Yeah.
all like everything that you're saying. I understand where you're coming from. I will say like you seem very smart and you have a lot of information in your head. Um I will some critique just maybe try to understand what people are intending to say just because they might not be explaining something perfectly. Maybe just try to understand what they're saying. But anyways, yeah, I do have to go. So
Wait, just really
it
quick,
was
really quick. Can I ask one more
yeah,
question? Do you think
yeah,
I
go
should
ahead.
stay on, or I'm throwing pearls before swine?
Uh
What?
I don't know because they could probably say the same about you.
True.
Yeah, I
uh
think you're actually projecting a lot hard here, kid.
Did bro?
so I would say
Michael,
just
what do you think? What do you think?
Did
Should I stay
bro?
on,
I
or
would say that I would say depending on how you look at it,
So you know
they
what?
could easily say the same about you. So I'd say just
I
bear
know?
with each other and see how it goes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you think
It's
I should
funny he
stay? I should stay
mentions
on?
swine. He points one
Whatever
finger
you
and
think
there's
is
three
best.
pointing right back at him.
All right. So like, you think
Whatever you
I
think
should?
is
So
yeah,
if I
whatever
think I'm
think
throwing, okay, okay, I'll
yeah,
consider.
whatever you think is best.
Okay,
For a while,
got it. Thank you,
he
Michael. See ya, dude.
was
Yep.
hoping that yes, so he can find an excuse to just run. That's hilarious. And
By the
imagine,
way,
Rebel,
And
Rebel. I'll make you a great deal. Rebel, great
appeal
deal.
to a
Ready?
reader's text
Rebel,
at
Rebel,
yes.
Rebel, Rebel. It's all on you.
and
Okay.
also, Rebel,
If
did you
you
know he
Rebel,
also agreed that the
Rebel.
Chihuahua can breed with the gray wolf? And it's technically true. So, yeah, he can believe that in the near distant future, maybe some retarded Chihuahuas won't be able to interbreed. But as of now, the Chihuahua can. He even agreed to that. So,
Yeah, he's a
well,
hypotheticals. He just what about isms is all he has. That's all.
Rebel, Rebel. It's all on you. Okay, ready?
uh,
If you schedule a debate with me on MDD right now, we do it. We can see the stage. I will stay on for. I'll stay on for 20 more minutes till 1:30.
You think I give
Okay.
a fuck that? You really
Okay. If you
think I?
don't, then I'll head out. If you don't, that's fine.
yeah, I have to
Oh,
go as well.
someone's needing
See
attention,
you,
it looks
Michael.
like.
So
Yeah, please go,
so to
man.
Akna, feel
Yeah.
free to DM me. I'd love to. I'd definitely love to learn more about your
Sure.
perspective.
Yeah, I've gotta brush up on some things, so it was kind of fun seeing
Yeah,
what I didn't
manners for
remember.
one of them.
Yeah. I'll
What's
see you,
that?
Manners
Michael.
for one of
See you,
them.
dude.
I know how you deal. These teenagers deal at modern day debate, but over here, at least, there's a lot more respect because some people who actually have their PhDs, who are in the fields of science, they like to share, allow people to share their
Rebel,
ideas.
Rebel. It's all on you, man. What are we deciding?
what are you talking about?
So I
You know, I
said
didn't go to college, but
I'd
at
stay
least I
on.
know like not to talk over people.
Yeah,
Dude, we already talked.
maybe someone will learn something today though.
You're
We'll
more
see.
than welcome to stay on, dude. But nobody's like begging you to.
Right. We already talked to you long enough anyway. Had enough of your sophistry. You got exposed. Like, what is there more to talk about? What Michael, guess what? You know what Michael was saying to you when he was saying, like, as a point of advice to try to, like, like, make the explanation for people trying to, like, know what they mean as opposed to, like, trying to be, like, really pedantic about, hey, what he was essentially saying to you is, are you in good faith, right? But preferable bad faith debater,
You can't actually do that. You just worry about like all these technical terms and to see if someone's saying something in like the exact right way. Otherwise, you respond in like a very technical way, even though damn well you know exactly what they mean. But since you're just a troll, and yeah, and he left. Yeah, he's a troll that argues in bad faith, and that's all this is. That's all that is.
It's okay. Hopefully, he learned from today. I mean, we
What he
were all
does is
19.
he asks adjacent questions that are slightly adjacent from the topic, and because he knows the answer, once you agree to the things that he knows that are true, he does this little bait and switch thing where he like pins that truth on his baseless assertion. It's some sort of pin the tail on the donkey fallacy, where he borrows that you're agreeing with him and then slaps it on whatever the fuck comes out of his mouth at the
Great
very end.
observation. Great observation. But yeah, hopefully he makes it back. We'll see.
Hey, Eden,
Hi.
did you ever get anyone else to answer your question about hotspots and stuff?
You know, I don't think I actually was able to get into the nitty gritty with anyone in particular. What's up?
No, I was just wondering because you said uh, you understood my point of view. You just wanted other ones.
Oh yeah. I'd like to. Yeah, that's why I would ask people, and then I would try to, because I know not everyone has the same level of understanding, or maybe the same belief. So I kind of like to see what other people believe and see if that aligns with myself.
Mm-hmm.
But Seafoam, were you listening to that whole exchange for the past half an hour or hour?
No, I was waiting for that one freaking guy to leave.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
The guy
it kind of got
that Rebel
it got weird.
Andres invited.
Yeah. Well, I was 19 as well, so I can kind of empathize where he's at. So I'll cut him some slack.
Wait, how do you know how old he is? Did he say?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
he
he said he was
said.
19.
Really?
I'm 19 too, but I'll be 20 in July.
Oh fuck.
He's 19, but he's an evolutionary biologist, whatever that is.
I could be mistaken.
No, I was there. He said he was 19.
He's an expert Googler.
Yeah, he said that during the whole "what is a second" debacle.
Yeah, when Glovers start debating what time is, I'm out.
It is fun though, being presented with different point of views and different temperaments. Like, thankfully, uh, he wasn't insulting people until I guess when he tried with the swine. But I forgive him. It's all good.
Which is comically ironic as an atheist that he would appeal to like a religious scripture to say something like that. I find that a little weird. Um, but you know that guy's whole deal. He's just a rhetoric king. That's all he is. He's just pure semantics, right? He doesn't actually have anything of substance to contribute, right? So as his way to like sort of give us this illusion like he knows what he's talking about, he uses technical jargon and he sort of beats around the bush instead of answering a question directly. Tries to give us like little random bouts of trivia here and there, and all it is semantics. You're just playing a little game. That's all it was. And that's why I made, because I know that about him. That's why you guys saw me in our exchange be very specific with the language that I was using to corner him and force him to finally answer the questions. And then once I did that, you start to see, oh, he had to start looking stuff up all of a sudden. You know, he didn't have the answers right away. You see, so that's you just have to play the game with him. That's all you can do with people like that.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
I
well done.
can't stand. Go ahead. I was just saying I can't stand semantic games with people.
Because he argues in bad faith. That's the typical characteristic of a bad faith debater. That's all it is. And he's especially deceptive about it because you know he tries to act like all cool and chill and like nonchalant. You know, it's like he makes you try to. He kind of comes off as like this like kind of cool guy,
in this like low demeanor kind of tone. But we all,
That's
as
not really arrogant.
yeah, we see right through it. I mean, he's not fooling any one of us.
I can't believe he said like fucking and making babies is basically evolution. Like that's the standard definition now.
No, the
Because you made a
definitions
baby.
change.
He's that's called the equivocation fallacy, right? Evolution means one thing in one sense, but he tries to make it out to seem something completely different in another sense. This is classic equivocation fallacy. That's all it is. And it's a right? Instead of instead of him actually trying to defend what over overarching theory of evolution proposes, which is universal common ancestry, that from single-celled organisms came all these novel anatomical features and physiological functions like that we see in biodiversity life today. He he tries to defend that by trying to demonstrate like one little very small specific thing and tries to extrapolate that on what and the entirety of the theory of evolution overall. But that's not how that works.
Yeah, I think you did a great job. I was going to say something as well. What was it? Oh yeah, I also asked him if he had any ideas on chemical or stellar evolution, but I guess he hasn't looked into that. He's focusing in on adaptation, or in his words, evolution, speciation. But yeah, you guys, that was pretty interesting.
Wasn't he also trying to argue that gene expression was also evolution? Because he was talking about epigenetics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so dumb because with epigenetics, the code isn't changing. It's just expressing different things from the same code. get activated on and off. Well, not off, but they get activated. I guess it'd be better to say on or off.
Oh yeah, yeah. Perfect example of that was demonstrated in the one of the largest studies on cancer called the China study. I think Joseph Campbell was involved with that one. How it was activated or deactivated.
Yeah, that dude's whole thing is that he's begging the question from the beginning. He just assumes evolution is something true to begin with, right? And so starting from that presupposition, really, you can call it, right? Starting from that point, he then considers all other biological phenomena at whatever level, at whatever micro, macro genetic level, whatever. He considers all of that to be part of the evolutionary process. You see, because because he starts off with evolution as a true theory, as a presupposition. He then he then extrapolates that to say, oh, well, then of course everything else, all other mechanisms that happens biologically, well, of course they have, well, of course they're evolution, because evolution is the true thing. You see, it's just a presup, like begging the question fallacy. That's all it is.
Anchor bias, sunk cost bias, confirmation bias.
Yeah, and there's a lot of scientists actually in the field who've already completed their PhD that are already challenging the idea of Darwinianistic or Darwinian evolution. There's the petition, descent from Darwin.org, and you have to hold a PhD in order to sign it. Yeah, and James Tour, he's on that list as well. So arguably one of the greatest living scientists. He has over 100 patents. Him and his team build nano machines and race them on tracks. And him and his team beat other teams by hours. And interestingly enough, he's a Christian.
Heard James. I've heard him speak. He came to our university once.
Wow. What do you think of him, Matthew?
Yeah, I think he's got the right idea. I don't remember 100% what he talked about. It was like 8 years ago.
Wait, Ida, about what theory? I had to step away from my phone.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying there's a petition that PhD holders have signed. There's over 1,000 already. It's at descentfromdarwin.org.
But even like modern day evolutionists, they'll say, like, if you mention like the phrase Darwinian evolution to them, they'll say, "Oh, yeah, that's been outdated now. Like, we no longer consider that. We call it like I forget the name, but they'll say, oh, we call it something else now. Like Darwin was just this sort of pioneer of the theory or whatever, like back in the day. But now the theory has evolved, no pun intended, but it's progressed or whatever."
Yeah.
And so we
Ad
know,
hoc.
like, they're already kind of like admitting that.
So it might be semantics, but I don't know. Like, but it is a very common experience when I do talk to evolutionists and I mention anything about Darwin or Darwinianism, whatever. They'll say, "Oh, well, clearly you're not up to date on the theory because that's like an outdated term." They'll say.
Yeah, great point. Actually, I'm sure you're familiar with Gutsick Gibbon. I tried tagging her a few times regarding that, but no response. I'd like to see maybe her, maybe chat with Taylor. That would be an interesting conversation.
Is that the lady like that hosts on the atheist channel sometimes, like the atheist call-in shows, or I'm not sure
Yeah,
you're
I
talking.
think so. Yeah,
Like she has glasses and stuff.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, her and Taylor would be good. That's funny.
Yeah, I tried tagging her about Darwin's thoughts on women and how they were inferior in every way.
Well, do you know the title of his Origin of the Species?
Yeah. Of favored races?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's racist.
Well, to be fair, favored races probably meant species, but it still is not a good look these days.
Yeah, that's true. I forgive them all. I mean, most people fell for that idea. But the sad thing is, it actually left a lasting negative legacy on humanity. So many people are divided because of this idea of race. Superior races. My race is better. Mine's superior. All based on nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, were there not? I'm trying to think. Were there not any like secular societies that sort of used the evolutionary theory to like do some kind of like eugenic stuff or like discriminate and have prejudice against like some certain minorities of races? I'm trying to think if that was a thing.
Unfortunately.
Do we know of any like historically documented examples of like societies that like we know they use evolution to like sort of carry out eugenics or like racist kind of things like based on evolution? I thought I ran into some, but I can't really.
Well, Nazi Germany.
Is that right? I mean, is
Goebbels, yeah.
but is there any documentation that shows that their discrimination was based on their belief in evolution?
Yeah, I think it's a fairly straight line from evolution to eugenics, and then eugenics was practiced by some of the Nazi doctors. I don't know where I could point you to look for that, but I think it's fairly well documented.
Yeah, I think so as well. In fact, I think evolution was the tool. I have to confirm this, but I've listened to Kent Hovind. He says essentially evolution was used as a tool before any countries went to war, because once people believed in evolution, uh, some people would now believe or fall away and give up an idea of a creator and a god. And if they do that, they're willing to do anything against their neighbor, I guess.
Switching gears a little bit. I just want to hear. Oh, Dan, you're unmuted. Look at that. What are people's opinions of the claim that you can see stars and stuff through the moon?
I don't buy it for a minute. I've been working outside, like at night, for the better part of like 20 years, and I guarantee you that you can't see stars through the moon.
I definitely
Agree.
agree with you.
Somebody just photographed that the other day and posted it on Reddit. I might be able to go back and dig in the timeline and find it.
Yeah, I found it, and then the guy in the comments fixed it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I guess that wasn't Venus."
Oh, seafoam. Okay, since we're on this topic, how many national flags have a star near the moon's crescent? 3 or 4?
Uh, I think it's pretty much every Islamic nation has it.
Okay, so maybe it's not. Maybe not. It's not technically going through the moon. Do you think maybe it's close to the edge of the moon?
I mean, that definitely happens all the time.
Okay, yeah. Maybe that's
Where
what
the,
it is rather
where
than
the
going
moon
through
gets.
the moon.
Yeah, but you definitely can't see anything through the moon.
Why do you think you can't
So,
see an unlit moon as a dark rock?
well, here's a good question for
Especially in
you.
the day,
Why?
especially in the day in the daytime.
Sorry, what was the
Well,
question?
Why don't we see a dark moon? We can see a lit moon. Why don't we see a big rock that's half
For,
lit?
for the same
For
reason that if you walk up on your car from the front and you're facing the headlights, you can't see the person getting into your back seat at night. There's light bouncing off of that person, but the overwhelming light coming from the headlights, or in this case, the atmosphere, gonna make it to where you can't see.
what
Well, the
about at
reason.
night? Why don't people have pictures of like where the moon's in its in its darkened phase, but there's like a black circle like in the middle of the Milky Way or something?
Well,
Nobody ever thought of that,
I
huh?
I, I have plenty of photos of a crescent moon where you can actually see the dark side.
I'm
But
talking about the moon blocking the stars when it's in its like dark phase or whatever when the sun's.
yeah,
You
well,
see what
the
I'm
thing is,
saying?
when the moon is new and it's dark, that
There it
also
is. Yep.
means it's really close to the sun in the sky. So when the moon is new, it's not going to be out when the stars are out.
Oh, that makes sense. Yep.
But then to answer
wait,
your question,
wait a
Dan,
minute.
the
Wait a minute.
reason why we don't see like we don't see the dark side of the moon during the day is for the same reason we don't see any stars during the day. If the brightness of the sky is outshining the stars, it's 100% going to outshine the really dim dark side of the moon too.
When the moon
And
is
this
half
is the
lit, you
same
can see the
explanation.
body of the moon at night. I don't know about during the day.
Or
Same reason why we don't see the moon approaching or departing an eclipse.
well, yeah,
Well, I mean,
because during an eclipse, A, it's directly next to the sun, and B, since it's being lit from behind the sun, it's going to be fully dark.
Is
And
directly
then,
next to it like 93 million miles away?
yeah, it's just the blue sky outshines the moon, or at least the dark part.
Earthshine is brighter than moonshine.
Well, technically, Earthshine is moonshine.
But if the moon is closer than the Earth, then why wouldn't it shine brighter?
yeah, you should be able to see Earth shine on the moon if we can see moons
You can.
shine on the Earth.
I actually have a couple
You
pictures
can.
of Earthshine. Let me gather them and post them. And I promise you, all these pictures are unedited from my camera.
You got
I literally
moonshine, you said?
Earthshine,
Oh, okay.
where the
You say
dark side of the
unedited,
moon.
but you mess with saturation. So you say
In
unedited.
some of my pictures, but these pictures, I promise you, were completely unedited from my camera. I literally just posted them onto Discord.
Okay.
Actually, I think I have a duplicate in there. Oops.
The Earth shine issue is during an eclipse. That's what I find it kind of curious.
The lunar eclipse, yeah.
Yeah, like regular like scattering or shine or whatever you call it.
Moon phase.
It's like visible normally.
Well, during I've seen pictures of it. I've never experienced a total solar eclipse myself, but